If you won't do it, plenty of others will. Everyone else can work overtime. Why can't you? You're always rushing off the second your shift ends. Do you want me to pack up your things and send you out the door? Inside the office of Cape Interactive, Zhao Jinlong, the company boss, roared so loudly it felt like the ceiling might cave in. His prominent beer belly jutted forward, fury contorting his greasy face as he jabbed his finger inches away from Lin Che's nose. The commotion echoed loud enough for every employee out on the open work floor to hear clearly. A dozen workers bowed their heads in unison, pretending to focus intently on typing at their keyboards, yet all pricked up their ears like rabbits, secretly following the confrontation. They held their breaths while also feeling a flicker of admiration for the young man standing up to their manager. Lin Che, the new hire who'd only been on staff for a month, was undeniably bold. He left the office sharp on the dot every single day without fail, refusing to stay a single minute past closing hours for unpaid overtime. Within Cape Interactive, the 6 o'clock quitting time printed on employment contracts was nothing more than empty wording. 10 o'clock at night was considered the official, normal end of workday. As for overtime pay, that was nothing but a fantasy people dreamed up in their sleep. Few employees dared to hand in their resignations, for this toxic workplace culture was ubiquitous across the entire industry. Aggressive corporate culture paired with performance rankings that weeded out the lowest performers had long become standard practice. Anyone who interviewed elsewhere would undergo background checks from prospective employers. A formal arbitration claim filed over unpaid overtime would land a person on an industry blacklist, resulting in automatic rejections from every firm in the field. Trapped within this warped ecosystem, workers considered having any job a privilege, forcing themselves to grit their teeth and endure the grueling 996 work schedule. Back in the manager's private office, Lin Che stared blankly at the seething Zhao Jinlong. Why would I work overtime with zero extra pay? You can't expect people to power your company on pure goodwill. Lin Che shot back without the slightest hesitation. Zhao Jinlong's tirade died instantly. His greasy face flushed deep purple with rage. You. Zhao Jinlong pointed a trembling finger at Lin Che. He built his management style entirely on workplace manipulation, using empty promises and motivational speeches to squeeze free labor out of his staff. He had never encountered an employee so bluntly demanding rightful compensation. After a few seconds to regain his composure, Zhao Jinlong reverted to his usual authoritative tone and trotted out his tired, worn-out lectures. The company provides you with a professional platform to grow your career. What harm is there in contributing back to the business? Young people ought not fixate on trivial personal gains and should adopt a long-term perspective. Countless people out there struggle to land any job at all, yet you complain about your current position. Lin Che curled his lips into a scoff. Just say you want me to work for free outright, instead of wrapping it up in high-sounding excuses. Your sense of self-serving justification must be reinforced with bulletproof plating. I treat you as my supervisor, but you see all your employees as disposable labor. How dare you speak to me in such a disrespectful tone? Frustrated beyond reason, Zhao Jinlong resorted to personal attacks. You lack any sense of team loyalty. You're selfish to your core, a rotten apple spoiling the whole barrel for this entire team. The hard work of every single colleague gets undermined because of people like you. With this attitude, you're destined to be stuck doing menial labor for your whole life. Lin Che laughed coldly through his anger and dropped all attempts to stay civil. He ripped the staff ID badge from around his neck and hurled it hard. The rigid plastic badge struck Zhao Jinlong square on his oily nose. Ow! Zhao Jinlong yelped, clutching his nose in pain. Lin Che turned to leave with unhurried poise and spoke in a clear, firm voice. Enjoy your so-called blessed work rewards all by yourself. I quit. Stepping out of the manager's office, Lin Che felt an immense weight lift from his shoulders. Workers would never stand up for themselves if they let employers walk all over them indefinitely. Right at that moment, a cold mechanical voice echoed inside Lin Che's mind. Ding! Host has fiercely resisted exploitation by unethical capital holders and taken decisive countermeasures, satisfying the core criteria for activating the conscientious entrepreneur system. System initialization in progress. Conscientious entrepreneur cashback system successfully activated. New user starter pack has been issued. 3 million renminbi in startup capital. Lin Che paused mid-step, overcome with overwhelming joy. As a long-time avid web novel reader, he understood exactly what this system signified. His golden cheat ability had finally arrived. He hurried back to his workstation to collect his belongings while quickly reviewing the system interface. System mission: guide the host to become a model industry figure and a beacon for fair workplace standards, establishing a healthy working environment for employees suffering from unfair corporate exploitation. Core system rules. 1. The system supplies monthly operating funds for the host's enterprise, starting at 1 million renminbi per month and increasing alongside company-level upgrades. 2. 100% cashback will be transferred to the host's personal account on the first day of each month for all legally compliant employee salary and benefit expenditures issued by the host company. Restriction: system funds may only be allocated for company operations and employee welfare. Direct cash withdrawal or fabricated expense records will incur a tenfold financial penalty. 4. Current company tier. Level 1. Maximum staff capacity of 10 employees. Salaries and benefits offered can reach 150 of the highest standard for equivalent industry positions. Primary assessment metric. Employee physical and mental wellness score. The system automatically scans all staff members' comprehensive wellness ratings scored from 0 to 100 at midnight on the first day of every month. Note: ratings are objectively determined by the system, unaffected by employees' subjective thoughts. For instance, even if an employee is mentally willing to overwork out of gratitude toward management, persistent overtime causing physical exhaustion will still lower their wellness score. Cashback rate is tied directly to average employee wellness scores. Average score greater than or equal to 80. Full 100 cashback granted 70 less than or equal to average score, less than or equal to 79. Cashback reduced to 70/60 less than or equal to average score, less than or equal to 69. Cashback reduced to 50 average score 60. Only 10 cashback issued alongside random punitive measures. Bonus rewards for high wellness ratings average score greater than or equal to 90. 1 free entry into the lucky draw pool perfect 100 average wellness score. 3 free lucky draw entries. The host is permitted to freely allocate 10 of all profits generated from regular company business operations. Lin Che processed all the information rapidly. Total cashback matching employee spending. Every cent I pay out in wages gets fully returned to my personal account. If I pay an employee 100,000 renminbi in salary, I receive the full 100,000 renminbi back. This is essentially a legitimate method to generate steady revenue. He immediately pinpointed the optimal strategy. Maximizing cashback required maximizing employee pay and perks to the highest possible limits. 10 staff members, each earning 150 of top market salary plus comprehensive premium benefits, would maximize his monthly cashback gains. However, the employee wellness score was a critical factor. Cashback percentages would drop sharply if staff health ratings fell below 80 points. This meant guaranteeing staff happiness at work with 0 mandatory overtime was mandatory to maintain high wellness scores. 0 overtime schedules, above market pay, comprehensive benefits to keep employee wellness scores peaking near perfect levels would grant full cashback alongside lottery rewards. This system was tailor-made for his needs. A wide grin spread across Lin Che's face as he pictured himself owning luxury villas and yachts, climbing straight to the pinnacle of success. A timid voice pulled him out of his thoughts. "Brother Lin, are you really leaving?" Lin Che turned to see a young female employee clutching a folder and gazing at him with obvious concern. It was Su Xiaoya, a concept artist on the company's art team. A recent graduate passionate about anime and gaming, she stood roughly 160 centimeters tall. The pair had maintained a friendly casual relationship. She often brought him breakfast during workdays. Her desk was covered with anime merchandise, and she rotated her desktop wallpaper multiple times daily, constantly rambling about her favorite fictional characters. She wore a loose white t-shirt paired with a pleated skirt that day, her hair tied in a high ponytail, giving her a bright, energetic aura despite subtle fatigue from long hours staring at her work monitor. "Don't let Zhao Jinlong get under your skin." Su Xiaoya helped him gather his desk items and carefully place them into a packing box. "With your skill set, you'll easily land a job infinitely better than this one." Lin Che smiled inwardly. Look for another job? With a functional system now activated, he was about to launch his own company. Seeking employment elsewhere would be a complete waste of this opportunity. His gaze settled on Su Xiaoya's weary yet lively features, and a bold plan formed in his mind. His new company needed 10 team members to maximize system returns, and she was the perfect first recruit. Lin Che softened his expression into what he believed to be a warm, trustworthy smile. "Xiaoya, would you be interested in fixed clock-out times every day, full weekends off, and doubled salary?" Su Xiaoya froze, blinking her large eyes in surprise. "I've dreamed of those conditions forever. But how could something like that ever exist? Every workplace treats staff as disposable resources with endless overtime demands." Lin Che raised an eyebrow with a knowing smirk. "It's simple. Hand in your resignation right now and join my new venture. Su Xiaoya stared at him in total shock, her mouth falling open slightly. Brother Lin, did getting fired stress you out enough to cloud your judgment? She waved her hands dismissively, thoroughly unconvinced. Launching a startup carries massive costs. Office rental fees plus regular payroll expenses demand huge startup capital. Where would you possibly get that kind of funding? Reading her skepticism, Lin Che decided to reveal proof of his resources. He sighed with deliberate solemnity. Xiaoya, there's something I've never shared with anyone here. I come from a wealthy family with multiple residential buildings generating steady rental income back home. My father has long pressured me to return and take over the family assets. Yet I found that lifestyle monotonous and wanted to experience regular civilian work to prove my own capabilities. Unfortunately, this toxic corporate environment treats ordinary workers with blatant disregard. I've decided to drop my pretense and launch my own business to reform this broken workplace culture. His impassioned speech was so convincing he nearly believed his own fabricated backstory himself. Su Xiaoya's mind went completely blank. A secret heir to property empires hiding among regular employees just to experience ordinary life? This was a plot straight out of online novels. Seeing her stunned expression, Lin Che pulled out his smartphone and opened his banking app, briefly displaying the lengthy string of digits showing his account balance directly in front of her eyes. This 3 million yuan startup capital was just transferred to my account by my father. Su Xiaoya felt her mind struggle to process the sight of the liquid 3 million yuan balance. Lin Che truly was a wealthy heir hiding in plain sight all along. Her anime-influenced imagination immediately filled in the gaps. A privileged heir enduring unfair mistreatment under a greedy small business owner, finally choosing to pour his wealth into founding a company to fight back against unfair labor practices. She'd shown him small kindnesses during his ordinary worker phase, so he was offering her a chance to join his new enterprise. Lin Che watched her spaced-out expression, certain he had secured his first recruit. He moved quickly to paint an appealing future for her. Xiaoya, you'll be a founding core member of this company from day one, my most trusted partner. Once the business expands and goes public, you'll hold original stock shares and become independently wealthy. You'll be able to purchase all the anime collectibles, luxury vehicles, high-end real estate, and designer goods you could ever want, free from answering to terrible managers like Zhao Jinlong. His carefully crafted pitch was perfectly tailored for an inexperienced young workplace newcomer. Su Xiaoya became fully captivated. She envisioned scenarios where she drove luxury sports cars, owned upscale properties, and carried premium designer handbags while outshining her former classmates at social gatherings. Reflecting on the endless overtime drudgery at Cape Interactive paired with Zhao Jinlong's unpleasant demeanor, the contrast between her current hellish job and the promising new opportunity was stark. The decision required no second thought whatsoever. Brother Lin. Su Xiaoya slammed her palm against the desk loudly enough to startle eavesdropping nearby colleagues. Her eyes blazed with excitement, cheeks flushed with enthusiasm. I'm in. I'll write my resignation letter immediately. She rushed back to her workstation in a flurry of motion. Lin Che grinned widely, thoroughly satisfied with his first successful hire for his Cashback enterprise, already mentally tallying the 9 remaining team members he needed to fully launch his business plan. Minutes later, the office door to Zhao Jinlong's private office slammed open violently once again. Zhao Jinlong had just sipped water to calm his anger and choked violently from the sudden intrusion. He lifted his head ready to unleash another tirade, only to watch Su Xiaoya slam her resignation letter firmly onto his desk, mirroring Lin Che's earlier defiance. I'm done working for you too, Zhao Jinlong. She spun on her heel and left before Zhao Jinlong could formulate a response, leaving the furious manager trembling with unbridled rage behind his desk. This is insubordination. Total mutiny. These 2 reckless fools will never secure stable employment anywhere else. Without my company hiring them, they'll struggle to make ends meet anywhere. Outside the building meanwhile, Lin Che walked out of Cape Interactive alongside his newly recruited founding team member. Breathing in unrestricted fresh air lifted his spirits entirely. Come along, Xiaoya. I'll show you the location that will serve as the foundation of our business. Where exactly are we heading? Century Mansion Tower. Su Xiaoya gasped audibly. Century Mansion was the city's most prestigious grade, a super high-rise office landmark with notoriously steep rental costs. Occupied exclusively by corporate executives and top-tier industry specialists, ordinary entry-level staff, such as herself, never even had reason to step foot inside the building. She swallowed nervously and asked quietly, Will our official workplace be located inside that tower? Of course, Lin Che replied with complete composure. We won't launch our business operating out of roadside pop-up stalls. But new startups usually begin within small, modest office spaces, Su Xiaoyang muttered softly. That applies to everyone else, not us. Lin Che adjusted the collar of his shirt calmly. Our company will maintain a prestigious foundation from the very moment we're established. Su Xiaoya's admiration for Lin Che grew deeper as she watched his unruffled demeanor. True heirs to substantial wealth operated on an entirely different starting level than ordinary entrepreneurs. 30 minutes later, their taxi pulled up outside the grand exterior of Century Mansion Tower. Su Xiaoya craned her neck upward toward the towering glass skyscraper, feeling minuscule standing beneath its imposing structure. She had only ever admired the building from afar before, never imagining she would one day work within its walls. She glanced down at her plain white sneakers self-consciously. I almost feel unworthy stepping on this flooring. Lin Che glanced over toward her. Have more confidence in yourself. You're one of the founding members of this company now. This floor should consider itself fortunate to have you walking across it. As the pair entered the opulent building lobby, a professionally dressed real estate agent with a polished, warm smile approached them promptly. Mr. Lin? I'm Wang. We spoke over the phone regarding your office viewing appointment. That's correct. Lin Che nodded in acknowledgement. Right this way, Mr. Lin. I've prepared all available office spaces for your inspection. The agent guided them forward with formal, deferential manners. Su Xiaoya followed closely behind, feeling out of place like a guest accidentally wandering into an exclusive high-society banquet. The elevator ascended smoothly and swiftly, coming to a stop on the 26th floor with a soft chime. The elevator doors parted to reveal a quiet carpeted corridor stretching onward. Mr. Lin, this floor currently hosts 3 tenant companies with a vacant south-facing unit spanning approximately 600 square meters featuring excellent natural lighting. The agent swiped a security card to unlock a glass office entrance as she spoke. Lin Che stepped inside and scanned the area quickly. The space did boast floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic city views and abundant sunlight, yet he frowned faintly. It's too small. The agent looked taken aback. 600 square meters was an extremely generous office footprint for any newly founded startup business. Additionally, Lin Che gestured toward the adjacent office suites. I dislike sharing a floor with other businesses due to persistent noise disruptions. Quick to interpret Lin Che's preferences as a high-net-worth client with no budget restraints, the agent's smile grew far more sincere. I apologize for overlooking your preferences. The 38th floor was recently vacated after a tenant's lease expired, leaving the entire floor unoccupied. Would you care to inspect that space next? Lead the way. The elevator climbed higher once more. When the doors opened this time, they revealed a vast, completely open layout with no dividing walls whatsoever. Floor-to-ceiling glass panels lined every wall, delivering an unobstructed 360-degree panoramic view of the entire city skyline. The eastern windows overlooked the winding Huangpu River with cargo vessels traveling along its waters, while the opposite bank showcased the dense cluster of towering skyscrapers belonging to the Central Financial District, creating a spectacular, imposing landscape. This full floor spans 2,000 square meters total, delivered with complete interior finishing alongside fully functional water, electrical, and internet infrastructure. Internal partitions can be customized freely according to your company layout requirements, the agent explained with quiet pride. This floor holds one of the tower's most premium positions with unrivaled views and optimal feng shui alignment. The monthly rental fee for this full floor is 600,000 RMB. Su Xiaoya stood utterly mesmerized, walking toward the oversized floor-to-ceiling windows to gaze down at the bustling traffic far below and the sprawling river scenery in the distance. Working within such an environment felt entirely surreal. This space is tremendously oversized for just the two of us. We'd have more than enough room to play football indoors, she whispered once she recovered from her awe. Lin Che acted as if he heard nothing. He circled the entire floor, a satisfied look spreading across his face. He turned to the real estate agent. I'll take this space. Pardon me, the agent thought she had misheard him. I said I'm signing the lease right now. Lin Che repeated in an unyielding tone. Where's the contract? I'll sign it on the spot. Agent Wang felt as if a massive windfall had landed squarely on her head, nearly overcome with delight. This was easily the most decisive client she had encountered in her career. He had committed to renting the entire 2,000 square meter space in less than 10 minutes flat. Right away, Mr. Lin. Please wait a moment while I fetch the paperwork. Her voice trembled with excitement as she hurried toward the elevator in her high heels. Su Xiaoya tugged at the hem of Lin Che's sleeve and whispered anxiously, "Brother Lin, this is 2,000 square meters. The monthly rent alone hits 600,000 yuan." Lin Che waved his hand calmly, the picture of complete composure. "Money is the least of my concerns." He gazed out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the river view and spoke solemnly. Office surroundings shape employees' moods. When staff are comfortable and content, they produce their most creative work. Privately, however, his thoughts were entirely self-serving. Better facilities keep employee wellness scores high. Higher wellness ratings guarantee steady cash rebates. Every cent spent here is an investment in my own profit. Staring at Lin Che's solemn profile and imposing figure overlooking the cityscape, Su Xiaoya was filled with unreserved admiration once more. Look at the breadth of his vision. She was fixated on rental costs, while her boss prioritized staff, well-being, and creative output. This was the mindset of a truly successful entrepreneur. She suddenly felt confident she had made the perfect choice by quitting her old job. Working under a poor leader is tantamount to being trapped. Following the right leader is like unlocking cheat codes for life. Moments later, the agent returned breathlessly with the formal lease documents. Lin Che did not bother reading a single clause. He flipped directly to the signature page and scrawled his name in bold, sweeping handwriting. "Swipe my card." As the POS machine printed out the lengthy transaction receipt, Su Xiaoya felt as though she were trapped inside a vivid dream. They had really secured this space? A panoramic river view office spanning 2,000 square meters on the 38th floor of Century Tower, one of the city's most coveted business buildings? With the contract fully executed, Lin Che's mood brightened considerably. "Come on, Xiaoya. Let's purchase all the office furnishings and equipment." He gestured broadly and led the stunned Su Xiaoya toward their next destination. En route, Lin Che consulted the system silently within his mind. "System, do expenses for office hardware qualify for cash rebates?" System notice: your company is currently level 1. Office hardware counts as corporate fixed assets and does not fall under employee consumption. Rebates are not applicable for these purchases at this stage. Lin Che's heart sank. No rebates at all. That meant every dollar spent would come straight out of the system's startup capital with no return. How do I unlock rebates for these purchases? Upgrade your company to Level 2 to activate rebates on corporate equipment procurement. Level 2 upgrade requirements: 1. Total accumulated cash rebates reach 1 million yuan. 2. At least one employee's comprehensive physical and mental wellness score hits 80 points or higher. Lin Che winced at the wasted expenditure. Every yuan spent on hardware would be a pure sunk cost for now. Still, cheap, low-quality equipment would leave employees suffering from stiff necks, eye strain, and bodily discomfort during work hours. If their wellness scores dropped below 80, he would lose far more money in forfeited rebates. He would also miss out on the grand tiered reward draw available for a perfect 100-point wellness rating. You have to spend money to make money. For the long-term plan of earning maximum rebates, the expense was justified. Upon arriving at the digital electronics mall, Lin Che went on an unrestrained shopping spree. "Shopkeeper, I'll take 10 Alienware desktop setups. Equip each with eye-friendly high refresh rate monitors." Su Xiaoya watched in alarm and quickly grabbed his arm to stop him. "Brother Lin, we're a newly founded startup. Standard office computers would suffice. A single Alienware rig costs upwards of 30,000 yuan. Lin Che placed a hand gently on her shoulder and spoke earnestly to persuade her. "Xiaoya, you're thinking too narrowly. Employees' eyes and spinal health are the company's most valuable resources. Laggy hardware, harsh monitor lighting, and noisy cooling systems harm their physical health. I will never subject my team to such unnecessary hardship. These expenses cannot be cut." Su Xiaoya was utterly convinced by his sincere, impassioned words. How remarkable a boss he was, willing to pour large sums of money purely to safeguard his employees' comfort. Her eyes stung with gratitude. Lin Che then headed straight for the premium ergonomic chair section. "Try that chair over there," he told Su Xiaoya, nodding toward a model priced at over 10,000 yuan. Su Xiaoya walked over and settled into the seat. The chair molded perfectly to the curves of her back, its supportive cushioning eliciting a soft sigh of relief. "Wow, this is incredibly comfortable." The soft sound drew curious glances from nearby retail attendants. Lin Che cleared his throat to mask his awkwardness. "I'll take 10 of these chairs. Also order 10 fully reclining lounge sofas for staff midday rest breaks." Before leaving, he purchased 2 oversized side-by-side refrigerated display cabinets for the office pantry, fully stocked with imported snacks, premium beverages, and fresh seasonal fruits. The entire haul cost several 100,000 yuan. Even without qualifying for rebates, Lin Che deemed the investment worthwhile. Walking behind Lin Che as he spent freely for the team's benefit, Su Xiaoya's heart swelled with gratitude. She clenched her fists tightly, silently vowing to herself, "My boss treats me this well. I cannot let him down. I will dedicate all my effort to growing this company to new heights, no matter how hard I need to work." In just 2 days' time, the 38th floor of Century Tower underwent a dramatic transformation. With priority deliveries secured via expedited fees, all the furniture and electronics Lin Che ordered were delivered and installed without delay. When Su Xiaoya stepped into the space once again, she was rendered speechless by the sight before her. The formerly empty floor had been divided into functional zones with careful planning. Along the windows with optimal natural light stood 10 sets of height-adjustable work desks paired with Herman Miller ergonomic chairs. Each workstation fitted with a sleek Alienware gaming PC. An open communal lounge occupied another section of the floor. The double-door refrigerator was packed with assorted drinks and yogurts, while a 3-tiered shelving unit overflowed with imported snacks, comparable to a small convenience store. A carpeted corner held 2 oversized beanbag sofas and a large wall-mounted smart television. This was nothing like a typical startup office. It was the ideal workplace every office worker dreamed of. Su Xiaoya excitedly pulled out her phone and snapped dozens of photos of the luxurious workspace. "This is unbelievable, Brother Lin," she exclaimed excitedly. "If my former co-workers saw this setup, they would be consumed with envy." Lin Che admired his handiwork and sipped a freshly brewed cup of coffee with calm satisfaction. "This is merely our baseline standard." His inner monologue told a different story. "Every choice is for stable wellness scores and those precious reward draws." "I've finished registering the company name," Lin Che said. "We'll operate under Star Han Technology." Star Han Technology. Su Xiaoya repeated the name softly, her eyes shining brightly. "It sounds wonderful. Our journey stretches toward the stars and endless seas." The imaginative side of her personality kicked into full gear. Lin Che twitched his mouth slightly and chose not to engage with her poetic interpretation. He had picked the name solely for its sophisticated, authoritative ring to impress outside parties. "Your workstation is right there, the first spot by the window with the best view. All software has been pre-installed on your computer. Let me know if you require anything else." "Everything is perfect, truly." Su Xiaoya bounded to her new desk like a cheerful rabbit and sank into the expensive Herman Miller chair, letting out a long sigh of contentment. She powered on the brand new 4K monitor and launched a resource-intensive 3D design program. Software that took ages to load on her old office computer opened instantly without lag. Rotating high-detail models with millions of polygon faces operated with seamless, fluid responsiveness. "This is such a relief." Su Xiaoya was overwhelmed with joy. This was the proper working environment a professional designer deserved. Unable to contain her excitement any longer, she carefully selected 9 photos, paired them with a heartfelt caption, and posted the update to her social media feed. A brand new chapter begins. "I'm fortunate to work for an outstanding leader." 9 images attached. The photographs showcase the upscale office space, panoramic river scenery, stock snack stations, and brand new Alienware computers. The post detonated like a depth charge within her social circle. Comments flooded in within 60 seconds. "College roommate, are you rolling in money now? This office setup is absolutely top tier." "University classmate, is this the river view from Century Tower? You've struck gold. Can I tag along for opportunities?" "Former colleague, is that a Herman Miller chair and Alienware PC, plus dedicated rest sofas? Does your company have openings for general staff roles?" Su Xiaoya grinned happily as she scrolled through the envious comments flooding her notification feed. With all physical preparations complete, Lin Che turned his attention to the next critical step, recruitment. Even with Su Xiaoya's full dedication, a single employee could not handle all required workloads. To spend the full 1 million yen monthly system funding cap and maximize his rebate earnings, he needed to fill the remaining 9 employee slots as soon as possible. "System, if I pay salaries at 150 of the maximum market rate for each position, how exactly is this benchmark calculated?" Lin Che asked silently in his mind. System prompt. Benchmarks are compiled from major recruitment platforms, official industry reports, and headhunter data, calculating the maximum standard salary for each role within the local region and corresponding seniority level. Example: a 3-year experienced game artist in Donghai has a market ceiling salary of 20,000 yuan monthly. You may legally offer up to 30,000 yuan per month, 20,000 times 150. Lin Che fully understood the parameters, leaving ample room for execution. A cunning grin spread across his face. "Everything is ready. Now all I need is my new team members to apply." He logged onto the country's largest recruitment website. As a game development firm, his core hiring targets were game development specialists. He created a new job posting page and began drafting the recruitment notice. Company name: Star Han Technology Company, limited open positions, game concept artist, numeric planner, copywriter, software programmer, and other related roles. These were standard formalities. His real competitive advantage lay within the compensation and benefits section. Lin Shay took a deep breath and typed rapidly across the keyboard, listing every anti-overtime, employee-centric benefit he could think of. Reading through his own draft made him anticipate the generous rebates to come. Working hours: 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Strictly no mandatory overtime, full weekends off. Standard 9:55 work schedule enforced permanently. Salary package: base pay set at 150 of the highest prevailing market salary for equivalent roles. Core benefits: maximum legal social insurance and housing fund contributions upon onboarding. Monthly 1,000 yuan meal subsidy, 500 yuan transportation stipend, and 1,000 yuan housing allowance. Additional perks: 30 days of fully paid annual leave each calendar year, unlimited complimentary refreshments and snacks daily, premium company-wide team building events held monthly. After proofreading the full posting, Lin Shay nodded in satisfaction. With benefits this competitive, candidates will definitely flood our inbox. He pictured overworked programmers and artists burned out by rampant overtime rushing to submit their applications the second they saw his listing. "What are you working on, Brother Lin?" Su Xiaoyao wandered over curiously. "I'm drafting our recruitment notice." Lin Shay rotated his monitor toward her. "Take a look and let me know if anything needs revision." Su Xiaoyao read each line slowly, her jaw dropping wider with every paragraph. She was stunned upon seeing the guaranteed, no overtime policy, 30 days of paid leave, and extensive supplementary allowances. "Brother Lin, are these terms realistic? They surpass even top-tier tech conglomerates in perks. Can we financially sustain this?" she stammered nervously. Game development almost always requires overtime work to meet project milestones. This feels like operating a charitable foundation instead of a business. Worry clouded her features as she imagined Lin Shay draining all his personal savings just to build a comfortable office for her. Offering such lavish recruitment terms would drive the company into bankruptcy within 3 months at most. Lin Shay patted the back of her hand gently to calm her anxiety before quickly pulling his hand away. "Broaden your perspective, Xiaoya." He leaned back into his chair and spoke with measured gravity. "Fellow workers should never exploit one another. We both endured unfair treatment and excessive workloads at our previous company, Cape Interactive. Why subject our own employees to that same mistreatment? I aim to build a genuine workplace utopia, a space where every team member regains dignity in their professional lives." Lin Shay delivered the impassioned speech effortlessly, fully convincing Su Xiaoya with his carefully crafted rhetoric. His true motives were far more calculating, however. He had run detailed financial calculations earlier. His Level 1 system capped total staff headcount at 10 people. To exhaust the full 1 million yuan monthly funding pool and transfer every available cent into his personal account via rebates, salaries needed to hit the 150 market maximum alongside full social benefits and stipends. Unused funding locked in the system's corporate account yielded zero personal profit for him. Enforcing a strict ban on overtime was equally vital to his financial interests. Any employee pulling unapproved after-hours work would lower their wellness scores, reducing his rebate percentage and costing him substantial income. Su Xiaoya stared at Lin Shay with genuine admiration. His noble words echoed through her mind endlessly. How could someone be so selfless and principled, willing to risk corporate solvency solely to protect his employees from workplace exploitation? Warmth filled her eyes as she nodded firmly. "I understand your vision now, Brother Lin. You're a truly idealistic leader. I will support you fully in every way." She chided herself for judging his ambitious plans through the lens of ordinary business logic. His aspirations reached far beyond mere profit margins. "I don't have any edits to suggest," Su Xiaoya said firmly. "Your posting is perfect. Every job seeker who reads this will be eager to join our team for our company values alone." "Excellent to hear." Lin Shay nodded approvingly and confidently clicked the publish button on the recruitment portal. "Task completed. Come along, my new team members. Submit those applications quickly." Less than 2 hours after publishing the posting, Lin Shay noticed something abnormal. Non-stop notification alerts flooded his recruitment back-end dashboard. Applications are rolling in. Lin Shay rubbed his hands together excitedly and opened the applicant inbox to review the flood of resumes. The resume counter read 0. Not a single application had been submitted. Confused, Lin Che clicked open the notification logs and discovered all alerts originated from comment activity beneath his job posting. As he scrolled through the comment section, he was left utterly dumbfounded. Original poster is bold. Nowadays, scam tactics have grown this elaborate? Everyone avoid applying. I checked the corporate registration records. This company was incorporated just 2 days ago with registered capital of only 1 million yuan, yet promises 150 market salary rates. This is textbook overseas fraud formatting. Guaranteed 955 schedule, 30 days paid leave, and maximum social benefits? I can't help but laugh at this obvious fabrication. I've submitted a formal report to the platform for investigation. Scammers are no longer even attempting subtlety these days. Tag Donghai Anti-Fraud Center and Donghai Municipal Human Resources Bureau for official review of this listing. Lin Che stared blankly at the screen as he continued scrolling through increasingly accusatory comments. Detailed breakdown proving this dream company is fraudulent. 1. No legitimate game studio operates on a strict 955 schedule after 15 years working in this industry. 2. A newly founded startup lacks the capital to pay inflated top-tier salaries. 3. 30 days of paid annual leave far exceeds national statutory leave limits. Conclusion: this posting is 100% fraudulent with no room for debate. Hundreds of users echoed this analysis with agreement and confirmation replies beneath the comment thread. Lin Che felt a surge of exasperation rise in his chest. He had sincerely designed industry-leading benefits to improve workers' livelihoods, yet the entire online community labeled his legitimate posting a scam. Worse still, his first phone call arrived at 3 o'clock that afternoon. He answered the call enthusiastically. "Good afternoon, this is Star Han Technology speaking." A cautious middle-aged male voice came from the receiver. "Is your company registered domestically within China?" "Of course. Our office is located on the 38th floor of Century Tower, Donghai City." "All right then. Does your firm require applicants to pay any upfront deposits?" Lin Che's expression darkened instantly. "We are a fully legal registered enterprise with 0 mandatory fees for candidates." "Do we need to submit passport documents during the application process?" "Do you genuinely believe we are running a fraudulent scheme?" A brief silence followed before the caller responded hesitantly. "Your benefit package is simply far too generous for a standard legitimate business. Is your actual office located in Myanmar or Cambodia?" Lin Che slammed the phone receiver down in frustration. Additional suspicious calls followed one after another. One caller asked about binding employment contracts with exploitative clauses. Another questioned if the office resided within a district notorious for telecom fraud operations. Lin Che tossed his mobile onto his desk and sank dejectedly into his chair. The startup capital had been spent, the 2,000 square meter office leased, and high-end workstations purchased, yet he could not recruit a single legitimate employee. Su Xiaoyan noticed his grim expression and peered at the comment section beside him, barely holding back a bitter laugh. "Please don't get upset, Brother Lin." She spoke cautiously to comfort him. "The company is newly established with no public reputation yet, so job seekers are naturally wary, especially given how exceptionally generous your listed benefits are." Lin Che stared silently upward at the ceiling, perplexed by the warped reality surrounding him. Corporations enforcing brutal overtime schedules faced no public pushback, yet a company offering humane working conditions and competitive pay was automatically branded criminal. Years of systemic workplace mistreatment had left employees so distrustful they assumed kindness from employers was always a trap. Regardless of his frustration, his pressing financial issue remained unresolved. The system deposited 1 million yuan in operational funding monthly, which only generated personal rebates when spent directly on employee compensation and benefits. With only Su Xiaoya on staff, even maximizing her salary and perks would never consume the full funding cap, leaving the remaining capital locked away with 0 personal gain for him. It was equivalent to holding a winning 100 million yuan lottery ticket with no way to claim the prize money. There has to be a solution. Lin Che straightened his posture resolutely. Su Xiaoya's eyes lit up with an idea. "Online applicants won't trust us, so we can set up a physical recruitment booth at the city's talent market tomorrow. In-person interactions will eliminate scam suspicions entirely. We can display our business license and invite interested candidates to tour our actual office space on site." Lin Che slapped his thigh in agreement. That's a solid plan. If overworked professionals could witness his premium working environment with their own eyes, they would surely accept the genuine opportunity he was offering. "We'll head to the talent market to set up our recruitment booth first thing tomorrow morning." Lin Che stood upright and clenched his fist firmly. "I intend to find out whether the whole world has lost its rationality, or if I am the one out of step with reality." Early the following morning, Lin Shaye arrived at Donghai City's largest public talent market. He had visited this venue years ago as a desperate job hunter begging companies for employment opportunities. The tables had turned dramatically, placing him on the opposite side as a business owner managing recruitment efforts. The talent market bustled with crowds of job seekers. Company booths lined the venue floor, lined with colorful roll-up display banners advertising open roles. Lin Shaye and Suya found their booth and snapped open the pre-designed promotional roll-up banner. Emblazoned across the top in bold print was the headline, Starhan Technology, recruiting elite game developers. Beneath it, bold red font spelled out the employee benefits. 9 to 5 work schedule. 5 workdays a week, no mandatory overtime whatsoever, paid weekends off salary. 50 above the industry standard, 30 days of paid annual leave, maximum social insurance, and housing fund contributions. Monthly meal subsidy, 1,000 renminbi plus transportation subsidy, 500 renminbi plus housing subsidy, 1,000 renminbi. Riverview office space on the 38th floor of Century Mansion. The banner instantly grabbed everyone's attention the second it was set up. Job seekers walking by would stop to glance at it, only to veer away immediately. They looked at Lin Shaye the same way people regard street scammers handing out flyers promising easy high daily earnings. A few bold onlookers stood off in the distance, pointing and whispering among themselves. See that booth over there? 955 hours with 0 overtime plus 1.5 times the regular pay? Total joke. It's definitely a training institute scam. They reel you in first, then charge you tens of thousands in tuition fees. I bet 5 yuan this company folds within a week. Lin Shaye heard every word clear as day, his temples throbbing with irritation. Suya also felt awkward and nudged his arm. Brother Lin, no one's coming over. Should I go pull people in? Hold on. Lin Shaye leaned back against his chair. Good products sell themselves naturally. Let's wait a bit longer. They waited the entire morning. Not a single person approached their booth to ask questions. The only interaction they got was an elderly lady passing by, who mistook their setup for a real estate promotion and asked about the unit price for apartments in Century Mansion. Lin Shaye was left utterly speechless. He finally understood just how tough it was to be completely honest in this industry. Booths on either side were swamped with applicants. The booth to their left advertised alternating single and double weekends, salary negotiable, and prioritized candidates with a driven work ethic. 7 or 8 people lined up there filling out application forms. The booth on the right was even more extreme, hiring elite sales staff with 0 base salary and pure commission during the 3-month probation period, and still had people lining up to inquire. Staring at this surreal scene, Lin Shaye's composure crumbled. Just then, the middle-aged HR man from the adjacent booth ambled over. In his 30s with a receding hairline, he wore a crumpled short-sleeve shirt stained with dark sweat patches under the armpits. Holding a cigarette between his lips, he clapped Lin Shaye on the shoulder. First time running a recruitment booth, yeah? Lin Shaye glanced sideways at him. Anyone can tell you've got 0 experience. The jaded HR worker spoke with the condescending tone of a seasoned veteran handing down wisdom. Your banner reads way too unrealistic. Even scammers need to polish their pitches properly. Look how we phrase our postings. Alternating single/double weekends, negotiable pay, ample room for career growth. Straightforward and believable. See all those applicants lined up at my booth. He jerked his chin toward his crowded station. Lin Shaye kept his face neutral. We aren't scammers. Every benefit listed is genuine. We run a legitimate game development firm. The HR man pulled his cigarette from his mouth and let out a mocking laugh. Not a scam? Then your boss must be running a charity. Why launch a company if you're just handing out money to employees for fun? I've worked in HR for 10 years, and I've never met anyone crazy enough to do that. Lin Shaye pointed a finger straight at his own chest. I'm the boss. The HR man sized Lin Shaye up and down, laughing even harder. All right, kid, chasing big dreams is fine. He patted Lin Shaye's shoulder in a patronizing manner, acting as if Lin Shaye was naive and ignorant of the real world. Once you burn through all your startup capital, you'll learn how harsh reality truly is. Test out our company for a month if you don't believe me, Lin Shaye said earnestly. We actually have an open HR position right now. The HR man waved his hands frantically and stepped back to his own booth. No thanks. I'm used to the grind. I don't deserve such cushy working conditions. His gaze toward Lin Shaye was nothing short of pity for a foolish person throwing money away. Lin Shaye dropped the conversation and silently resolved. Once my company grows big enough, I'll never hire this man no matter how desperately he begs for a job later. Right at that moment, a new candidate stepped up to the HR man's booth. He was a tall, thin young man with black-rimmed glasses, wearing a faded plaid shirt and carrying a bulging backpack. He carried the weary, drained demeanor typical of overworked programmers, with dark under-eye circles heavy enough to look like applied eyeshadow. He lowered his head to read the recruitment notice, hesitated briefly, then spoke in a quiet voice. "Excuse me, do we get overtime pay for extra working hours?" The HR man stubbed out his cigarette, his warm smile instantly morphing into open disdain. "Overtime pay?" He spoke loud enough for recruiters and applicants at nearby booths to hear, as if the question was utterly ridiculous. "The company gives you a job and a platform to build your skills. How dare you ask for overtime compensation? Do you have any idea how many people out there can't even land a single job interview? I glanced over your resume. Half a year of unemployment." He shook his head with a disappointed scowl. "With this gap on your record, you're in no position to be picky. Plenty of people would jump at this role if you turn it down. Job seekers are flooding the market these days." The young man's knuckles whitened from gripping his resume tightly. His name was Su Ming, a graduate from a top-tier 985 university majoring in computer science. At his previous job, working overtime deep into midnight was standard practice. After 2 years of this grueling routine, he collapsed at his workstation and was rushed to hospital, diagnosed with moderate fatty liver alongside mild depression. After quitting his toxic job, he swore he would never join another exploitative corporation again. Yet half a year had passed, and he had not found a single suitable position. It was not that he was being selective. Every company operated by the same rules. 996 work hours were the industry baseline. Overtime pay was a distant fantasy, and simply asking about extra hour compensation marked you as a troublesome employee. His savings were nearly depleted, and he could barely afford rent for the upcoming month. Su Ming listened to the HR manager's manipulative speech, anger coiling tight in his chest. He wanted to walk away right then and there. But financial hardship and the pressure to survive weighed far heavier than his personal pride. Clutching his resume tighter, he hung his head, ready to accept this unfavorable role. "Fine, hey buddy." A lazy voice cut in from the neighboring booth. "Don't listen to this guy's nonsense." Su Ming turned his head to see the young man from the next booth waving him over. Lin Che stood up, walked 2 steps toward him, slung an arm over Su Ming's shoulder, and guided him toward his own recruitment booth. "Come take a look at our posting." Su Ming was led over to the eye-catching roll-up banner and scanned its content reflexively. He froze completely the second he finished reading. 955 hours, no mandatory overtime, pay scaled to 150 of industry rates, 30 days of paid leave. His first reaction mirrored everyone else's. This had to be a scam. Su Ming stepped backward cautiously. Is all of this actually true? The HR man from the other booth let out a snort of ridicule. "Don't fall for this trap, young man. This is obviously a con scheme. If you trust him, you'll end up getting swindled out of your savings." Su Ming wavered with uncertainty. Lin Che had fully anticipated such skepticism. He pulled out his phone from his bag and held up multiple photos directly in front of Su Ming's eyes. A business license for Star Han Technology Company, Limited, registered at Century Mansion, Donghai City, 38th floor. A formal office lease contract signed with Century Mansion Property Management for a 2,000 square meter office space. On-site photos of the office, floor-to-ceiling windows with river views, Alienware workstations, Herman Miller ergonomic office chairs. "This is our official business license, and this is the lease agreement for our office space." Lin Che flipped through the images one by one for Su Ming to verify. "We occupy the entire 38th floor of Century Mansion in Donghai City. If you still doubt me, we can head over to the office for an on-site visit right this minute." Su Ming's eyes widened in shock. Century Mansion was a landmark high-end office building across Donghai City. Renting an entire single floor there cost an astronomical sum. A company capable of affording such premium office space could hardly be a fraudulent operation. The mocking remarks from the distant HR man faded into background noise as Su Ming stared at the bright, spacious office spaces captured in the photos, then checked his bank account balance, displaying only 3 digits left. What was the worst possible outcome he could face? If he failed to secure work soon, he would not be able to pay rent and would wind up homeless. He decided to take the gamble. Su Ming swallowed hard, his voice tight with nervousness. "I'm willing to give this a try." A broad grin spread across Lin Che's face. He'd finally signed his first recruit. He pulled a pre-prepared employment contract out of his bag in the blink of an eye and slammed it onto the table, terrified Su Ming might change his mind. "Have a seat and let's talk. What field of development did you work in before? What salary range were you hoping for?" Su Ming felt completely dazed. He had never encountered such an eager hiring manager before. Standard recruitment processes usually involved 3 rounds of interviews, written assessments, and aggressive salary bargaining. I specialized in client-side game development using Unity, with 2 years of professional experience. My previous salary was 18,000 renminbi monthly, yet my paychecks were consistently delayed. 18,000. Lin Che ran a quick calculation in his mind. Taking 20,000 renminbi as the upper industry salary benchmark, a 150 markup equaled exactly 30,000 renminbi. Perfect. Another 30,000 renminbi worth of spending quota unlocked for his cash rebate system. We'll pay you a fixed monthly salary of 30,000 renminbi, Lin Che stated without hesitation. Su Ming's brain short-circuited. He rubbed his ears, convinced he had misheard the figure. How much? 30,000 yuan per month, Lin Che replied matter-of-factly. We pay the maximum legal amount for social insurance and the housing fund, alongside the full meal, transportation, and housing subsidies, all formally written into the signed contract with full legal validity. Su Ming's head buzzed nonstop. His previous employer often delayed payments for his 18,000 monthly wage, yet this startup founder was offering him a base salary of 30,000 without negotiation. There's just one rule you need to follow. Lin Che held up one finger with a solemn expression. Su Ming's heart jumped into his throat. Here it comes, the hidden catch, just as he expected. There is no such thing as a free lunch. It would definitely be a restrictive non-compete clause, an exploitative long-term service agreement, or something equally binding. You are strictly forbidden from working overtime. Su Ming fell into stunned silence. Pardon, you must clock out promptly at 5 p.m. every single workday. Not a single extra minute of work is permitted, Lin Che declared firmly. This is an unbreakable company rule. Su Ming was utterly dumbfounded. Over his years in the workforce, he had dealt with employers forcing overtime, manipulating staff into unpaid extra hours with psychological tactics, and guilting employees into overtime by invoking company loyalty and personal growth. He had never met a boss who actively banned staff from working overtime. What kind of unconventional management style was this? The HR man, eavesdropping on the whole conversation, stood frozen, his jaw practically hanging open in shock. Suya quietly gave Lin Che a thumbs up from behind the booth. Her boss never failed to seal a candidate with ease. Su Ming took a deep breath to calm his racing thoughts, picked up the pen resting on the table, and signed his name on the contract. I'll sign it. Whether this was an unbelievable stroke of good fortune or some hidden trap, taking this opportunity was far better than struggling to survive with no income. Lin Che managed to hire a second candidate later that day at the job fair booth. The new recruit was a game designer named Zhang Wei, bespectacled with thick lens frames and gaunt to the point of looking malnourished, clear signs of long-term suffering under the 996 work regime. Lin Che used the exact same method once more, presenting the business license, office lease documents, and on-site office photographs to dispel the applicant's doubts. After reviewing all proof, Zhang Wei reacted identically to Su Ming. Initial shock, lingering suspicion, then hesitant agreement to sign the employment contract. He was offered a monthly salary of 25,000 renminbi, calculated as 150 of the top industry pay grade, full maximum social benefits, and a strict ban on overtime work. After signing the paperwork, Zhang Wei's hand trembled holding the pen, repeatedly double-checking the contract terms to confirm overtime was truly prohibited. Lin Che reassured him wholeheartedly. If you stay even 1 minute past your scheduled shift working overtime here, I will admit total defeat. Once Zhang Wei left, Lin Che counted his current team members on his fingers. Suya, Su Ming, Zhang Wei. 3 people total. 7 more recruits were still needed to hit his target headcount. He spent the rest of the afternoon trying to attract applicants, yet no other job seekers stopped by their booth. As the unethical HR manager packed up his booth to leave for the day, he took one final jab at Lin Che. Still struggling to hire anyone? Why not edit your banner, change 50 higher pay to 50 heavier workload, and you'll have applicants queuing out the door in no time. Lin Che responded with a blank stare and a middle finger gesture. On their walk back to the office after the recruitment fair, Lin Che trudged forward with a gloomy expression, while Suya trotted quickly to keep pace beside him like an obedient corgi trailing its owner. How much longer will this recruitment process drag on? Lin Che groaned out loud. My monthly 1 million yuan spending quota is barely used up by less than 100,000. The remaining 900,000 just sits idle in the corporate system account with no way to spend it. My cash rebate goals, my luxury villa and yacht dreams, all stuck on hold. Suya watched her boss wallow in distress, tilted her head, and suddenly a clever idea popped into her mind. Boss Lin, if external candidates refuse to trust our benefits package, why not poach former colleagues we already know? Lin Che halted in his tracks. Poach acquaintances? Suya glanced left and right to make sure no passersby could hear them, then flashed a mischievous grin. We can poach staff from Zhao the exploiter's company. He squeezes every ounce of labor out of his team relentlessly, so his employees are all burning with resentment. We'd have zero trouble luring them over. Most of his team are desperate to leave, but lack better job alternatives. Lin Che's eyes lit up instantly. This idea was brilliant. He could quickly onboard seasoned, experienced developers while getting petty revenge on Zhao Jinlong at the same time. A perfect two-for-one solution that struck back at his former exploitative manager. Yeah, you're absolutely brilliant. Lin Che clapped a firm hand onto Suya's shoulder. I'm assigning you full responsibility for rescuing our former co-workers from that harsh working environment. Suya puffed out her chest proudly from the compliment. Leave everything to me. I guarantee I'll successfully recruit those team members over to our company. Upon returning to the Starhan office, Suya immediately pulled out her phone and opened the WeChat profile of Luo Zhengwo, the senior lead developer from her previous company. Known simply as Old Luo among colleagues, Luo Zhengwo was 35 years old and the core technical backbone of Cape Interactive. He had worked at Cape Interactive for 5 years with exceptional coding skills and an easygoing personality, well respected by everyone across the company. Most importantly, Old Luo logged more overtime hours than any other employee and endured the worst exploitation from company management. Suya typed out a message and sent it to his WeChat account. Suya, hi brother Luo. Are you busy right now? How have things been lately? 5 minutes later, Old Luo replied. Old Luo, stuck fixing bugs as usual. Same old exhausting routine as always. A smirk tugged at Suya's lips, and she cut straight to the point. Suya, brother Luo, would you be open to switching jobs? Our newly founded company is hiring, with benefits vastly superior to what you currently have. Old Luo, at my age, I'm grateful just to hold on to a steady job. I can't afford to take risks jumping ship to new startups. Old Luo let out a bitter chuckle staring at his phone screen. Switch employers? He had dreamed of escaping his draining job countless times. Yet at 35 years old, he was already considered middle-aged in the fast-paced internet industry. Suya glanced toward Lin Che, who gave her a confirming nod. Without hesitation, she dialed a voice call and handed her phone over to Lin Che. The sound of frantic keyboard tapping filled the background noise when Old Luo picked up the call. Hello? Yeah. Hello, brother Luo. This is Lin Che, founder of Starhan Technology. Lin Che spoke in a steady, authoritative tone. You mentioned you're a core technical member at Cape Interactive, so I wanted to discuss a potential job offered directly with you. Old Luo paused in surprise. Mr. Lin, may I ask who you are exactly? Let me keep this concise. Lin Che cut straight to the core matter. What is your current monthly salary working under Zhao Jinlong? Old Luo stayed silent for 2 seconds before answering with embarrassment. 25,000 yuan per month. Lin Che clicked his tongue in disapproval. Brother Luo, your talents are drastically undervalued here. The bulk of Cape Interactive's demanding development workload fell entirely on Old Luo's shoulders for such modest pay. Zhao Jinlong was nothing short of a predatory employer who treated his employees like disposable labor tools. Old Luo only responded with a helpless, bitter laugh. Lin Che quickly crunched the numbers internally. For a senior developer of Old Luo's caliber, the standard top industry salary was approximately 35,000 renminbi. Multiplied by 150 gave a total monthly pay of 52,500 renminbi. Here is my formal offer, Lin Che stated plainly. Join our team, and you will receive a fixed base salary of 50,000 renminbi each month, with maximum legal contributions for social insurance and the housing fund. You can confirm all additional employee benefits directly with Suya. Old Luo's breathing grew noticeably heavier on the other end of the call. 50,000 yuan a month, effectively doubling his current income. His heartbeat raced rapidly as his fingers tightened involuntarily around his computer mouse. And Mr. Lin, are you being completely serious about this offer? I never make empty promises, especially when money is involved, Lin Che replied firmly. Old Luo swallowed thickly, his mind racing non-stop to weigh the pros and cons. A 25,000 yuan monthly pay raise would completely ease his mortgage and car loan burdens, cover his second child's infant formula expenses, and allow his wife to stop pinching pennies for daily household spending. Yet doubt lingered in his mind. He glanced toward the framed family photo sitting on his desk, his wife holding their younger child, with their eldest son sitting happily atop his shoulders in the picture. He bore full financial responsibility for the household mortgage, vehicle loan, his wife who had quit her job to care for their 2 children full-time, plus all daily expenses for his entire family. While Zhao Jinlong was cruel and demanding as a manager, Cape Interactive was an established corporation that reliably issued paychecks on schedule each month. Starhan Technology was only a newly founded startup. If the company folded within a couple of months, he would have nowhere to turn for stable income. Middle-aged workers could not afford to gamble away their financial stability lightly. After lengthy internal struggle, old Luo sighed heavily. "Mr. Lin, your compensation package is incredibly attractive, but I need time to carefully consider this decision." "Of course," Lin Che replied calmly without any pressure. Middle-aged adults are right to weigh major career changes cautiously. Our doors at Starhan will always stay open for you. Feel free to reach out anytime once you've made up your mind. "I appreciate your understanding, Mr. Lin." After hanging up the call, old Luo stared blankly at his phone screen for a long stretch of time. The thought of a 50,000 yuan base salary, guaranteed weekends off with zero overtime, and fully topped-up social benefits circled endlessly in his thoughts, teasing him relentlessly like a cat scratching at a closed door. He forced himself to suppress his restless longing, took a deep breath, set his phone aside, and refocused his gaze back onto the screen filled with bug-ridden code. He resolved not to take the risk. Sticking with his current stable job was the safer choice overall. He had just raised his hands to resume typing when a cold, sarcastic voice sounded from directly behind him. "Old Luo, who were you chatting with on a personal call during working hours? Looks like you've got far too much free time on your hands lately." A jolt of panic shot through old Luo's body as he whipped his head around abruptly. Zhao Jinlong had appeared behind him without making a sound, arms crossed over his chest with his prominent beer belly protruding forward. A cold, mocking grin twisted across his greasy facial features. Old Luo's heart skipped a beat, and he rushed to explain himself immediately. "Manager Zhao, it was only a personal phone call from a friend. We barely spoke for a minute." "A personal phone call?" Zhao Jinlong huffed coldly, his sharp eyes scanning the display on old Luo's computer screen. "Taking personal calls on company time, and you dare defend your actions?" Old Luo lowered his head without uttering a word. Arguing logically with Zhao Jinlong was nothing more than a pointless waste of energy. Zhao Jinlong paced slowly across the workspace, his gaze lingering briefly on the empty workstation previously occupied by Lin Che. Ever since Lin Che, the outspoken former employee, resigned, no one had stepped up to take over his unfinished project workload. Zhao Jinlong's eyes swiveled back toward old Luo as a calculating idea formed in his mind. "By the way, old Luo, you'll need to take over all the work originally assigned to Lin Che now that he's left the company." Old Luo looked up in shock. "Manager Zhao, my current workload is already overwhelming. I consistently work overtime until 10 o'clock every night just to keep up. Adding another large project will be impossible for me to manage. Just put in a few more overtime hours to get it done." Zhao Jinlong waved off his concerns dismissively. "I'm not assigning this to you permanently. You only need to cover the tasks temporarily until we hire a replacement. It will only last a week or two at most." A week or two. Old Luo knew Zhao Jinlong's tactics all too well. The last temporary assignment labeled as 1 week of extra work had fallen solely onto his shoulders for an entire month with no additional pay. Worry clouded old Luo's face, and he bit his lip to work up the courage to negotiate. "Manager Zhao, my workload is doubling with these new tasks. Would there be room for a corresponding salary adjustment?" "A raise." Zhao Jinlong let out a loud sneer as if he had heard the most ridiculous joke imaginable. "Old Luo, look at your own situation realistically first." He stepped closer to old Luo's desk and lowered his voice, unleashing his usual manipulative workplace tactics. "You're 35 years old now. Do you think landing a new job elsewhere will be easy? The company entrusts you with such critical project work because we recognize your professional value. Perform well, and you will be properly rewarded during the year-end performance evaluations. Just look at the hordes of applicants begging to get hired into this company. You should feel fortunate to hold this position right now." Zhao Jinlong knew exactly where to strike old Luo's vulnerabilities: crippling mortgage and car payments, a non-working spouse, 2 dependent children. The heavy financial burden left him completely powerless to stand up for himself against unfair treatment. That was exactly why Zhao Jinlong felt free to exploit Lao Guo without restraint. Lao Guo sank into his workstation, his chest heaving violently. Grievance welled up inside him like an incoming tide, surging higher and higher, nearly drowning him entirely. Yet thoughts of household expenses and milk powder for his younger child weighed heavy on his mind. He let out a weary, defeated sigh in the end. "Understood, Director Zhao." Zhao Jinlong patted his shoulder with a satisfied grin. "That's the spirit. Keep up the good work, and the company won't let you down." With that, he strolled away with his hands clasped behind his back. Lao Guo stared blankly at his computer screen. He pulled out his phone and sent a message to his wife on WeChat. Laogua, I won't be home for dinner tonight. Don't wait up for me. Then he turned back to the pile of faulty code and got back to work. He kept at it until 11 o'clock late at night. The office stood empty, with only the lamp above his desk still burning bright. The glittering city lights outside the window might as well have belonged to a different world, bearing no relation to his miserable existence. Days passed in much the same way. For 2 straight days afterward, Laogua was forced to work overtime deep into the early hours of the morning. He arrived at the office at dawn every single day and slogged away long into midnight. Tasks from the newly assigned project piled on top of his regular workload, chaining him to his desk non-stop, with barely a moment to grab a sip of water. At 1 o'clock the second morning, he collapsed back into his office chair, his vision swimming with black spots. By the third day, he was utterly drained. His head throbbed relentlessly, his temples pulsed sharply, and his eyelids felt far too heavy to lift. He did not stumble home until 2 in the morning. Exhaustion crashed over him the second his head hit the pillow, and he fell into an instant sleep. His alarm blared repeatedly the next morning, yet Laogua slept straight through every ring. He jolted awake with a start and glanced frantically at his phone. 9:15. I'm finished. He skipped washing his face entirely, snatched his clothes, and bolted out the door. By the time he rushed into the office building, he was 30 minutes late. The moment he pushed open the main entrance, he ran straight into Zhao Jinlong making his rounds. Zhao Jinlong checked his wristwatch, then eyed the gasping Laogua, a cold smirk tugging at his lips. Getting bold now, aren't we, Laogua? Do you have any idea what time it is? Laogua doubled over, struggling to catch his breath. Director Zhao, I pulled overtime until 2 a.m. last night and slept through my alarm. Being late is being late, no excuses. Zhao Jinlong cut him off sharply and raised his voice on purpose, ensuring every staff member in the office could hear clearly. Rules exist for a reason. If every single person shows up late like you, how is this business supposed to operate? Laogua straightened up, bloodshot eyes burning bright with fury. I've worked back-to-back overtime for 3 whole days just to finish the assignments you dumped on me. Can you cut me some slack just this once? Cut you slack. Zhao Jinlong let out a scornful huff. Do you take this workplace for a street market where you can haggle over terms? Plenty of other employees work overtime besides you. He scanned the entire open office floor to make certain everyone's attention was fixed on them before announcing loudly, Luo Zhangwo, 45 minutes late. Forfeit your full monthly performance bonus and perfect attendance bonus effective immediately. Dead silence blanketed the office. Every employee kept their heads lowered, too afraid to meet Laogua's gaze, yet each one's heart sank with cold dread. Laogua stood rooted to the spot, his body trembling faintly. All those grueling overtime hours had earned him no overtime pay, no performance rewards, only the sudden forfeiture of his hard-earned bonuses. Memories flooded his mind. 3 nights burning the midnight oil, endless bugs he had spent hours debugging, and Zhao Jinlong's hollow promise that the company would reward his efforts. Long-suppressed rage erupted violently within him like an active volcano finally blowing its top. Snap! Laogua ripped the employee ID badge from around his neck and hurled it hard onto the floor right at Zhao Jinlong's feet. The rigid plastic badge bounced twice against the tiled floor with a crisp clatter. He lifted his head, eyes blazing crimson, his voice hoarse yet firm and resolute. I quit. Complete silence descended over the office in an instant. All staff members lifted their heads in shock, staring at the docile, hard-working man who had never once complained before as he finally snapped. Zhao Jinlong froze, clearly unprepared for such an outburst. It only took a second for anger and contempt to twist his features. What did you just say? He narrowed his eyes menacingly. Say that again. I said I quit. Laogua enunciated each word slowly, his volume louder than before. Zhao Jinlong sneered. Fine by me. Walk out that door, and you won't receive a single cent of your monthly salary. Laogua had already turned his back and strode purposefully toward the exit. Zhao Jinlong shouted after him. If you step foot outside this office today, your paycheck. Laogua never looked back and tossed a retort over his shoulder. Keep the money for your own expenses. Bang! The main door slammed shut with a deafening crash, sending ripples through the entire glass partition wall. The whole office staff exchanged nervous glances, not daring to make a sound. Zhao Jinlong stood seething in place, his face dark with rage, his pointing fingers shaking uncontrollably. You insolent fool. Get out. Don't ever bother coming back. Fresh college graduates line up outside begging for these positions at rock-bottom pay. The company will carry on perfectly fine without you. Starhan Technology, Lin Che stared glumly at a recruitment website. 3 days had passed, and the company had only managed to hire 6 employees. With Su Xiaoya on the team, they were still 3 people short of the target headcount of 10. This recruitment pace is far too slow. Lin Che massaged his temples anxiously. $1 million monthly operating funds sat untouched in the company account, weighing heavily on his mind. Just then, his cell phone began ringing. Lin Che glanced at the caller ID, his expression shifting subtly as he answered the call. "Hello, Lao Gua. Have you reconsidered your position?" Lao Gua's breathless yet unwavering voice came through the receiver. "I've made up my mind for good, Manager Lin. I'm heading over right now. I've had enough putting up with Zhao Jinlong's unreasonable demands." Also, Lao Gua paused briefly with a hint of nervousness in his tone. "2 colleagues of mine, a back-end developer and a testing engineer, have also grown fed up with Zhao Jinlong's management. They want to switch jobs alongside me. Would it be possible for them to join your company as well?" Lin Che nearly leapt out of his chair from sheer elation upon hearing the news. It was like receiving a soft pillow the moment he felt sleepy. Not only was Lao Gua walking through the door voluntarily, he was bringing along 2 seasoned technical professionals free of charge. Absolutely welcome them both. Their salaries will be set 50% higher than the industry standard for equivalent roles. Lin Che slammed his palm firmly against the desk with decisive enthusiasm. After hanging up the call, Lin Che felt a surge of optimism for the company's future. The full team of 10 staff members was finally complete that very day. His plan to utilize the company funds could officially commence. Official first workday, all 10 employees filed into the office promptly by 9 o'clock in the morning. An awkward tension hung thick in the air across the workspace. Everyone sat rigidly upright in their chairs, typing on their keyboards with noticeably muted keystrokes. Lao Gua wore a brand new collared shirt with his hair neatly combed. The first thing he did after sitting at his workstation was double-check that his computer booted up normally and all required software was properly installed. Su Ming removed his glasses, wiped the lenses twice before putting them back on. Zhou Kai, the young testing engineer, twisted a pen nervously between his fingers while discreetly observing his new surroundings. They were no strangers to enticing job offers. Countless companies painted rosy pictures of generous benefits during recruitment, only to flip the script once employment contracts were signed. Long 6-month probationary periods, forced ranking elimination policies, covert unpaid overtime, and countless other deceptive corporate tactics. Starhan Technologies' compensation package was absurdly generous, leaving every new hire on edge with lingering doubts. Lao Gua, Chao Guangjuan leaned over from the adjacent desk and lowered his voice. "What do you make of this new boss? Is he genuinely this benevolent?" Chao Guangjuan was the back-end developer who had resigned alongside Lao Gua, a man in his early 30s already showing noticeable thinning hair at the crown. Lao Gua shook his head. "Your guess is as good as mine. We'll take things one day at a time for now. I just have this lingering worry." Chao Guangjuan trailed off hesitantly. "He lures us in with favorable treatment up front only to pile on heavier workloads with no pay raise later on." The morning hours passed by without any notable incidents. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Lin Che stepped out of his private office and snapped his fingers at Su Xiaoya. "Bring out the afternoon tea service." 10 minutes later, the long table in the staff lounge was fully stocked with refreshments. Rows of milk tea cups lined the surface, each labeled with its distinct flavor. An assortment of premium pastries was neatly stacked in 2 rows alongside fresh seasonal fruits, plump strawberries, cherries, and crisp seedless watermelons. Su Xiaoya clapped her hands and spoke cheerfully to the whole team. "Everyone pause your work for a moment. The boss is treating everyone to afternoon snacks and drinks. Help yourselves to anything you'd like." The entire office fell silent instantly. Every employee froze mid-task, staring ahead in stunned disbelief. Free daily afternoon tea was actually real, and of such high quality at that. They had all assumed the unlimited afternoon tea listed on the job posting was nothing more than a hollow marketing gimmick, consisting of cheap generic milk tea as a token gesture. No sane company would pour real money into catering such lavish refreshments for staff regularly. Su Ming walked cautiously toward the lounge table and picked up a grapefruit fruit tea, his hand trembling slightly. The cool temperature seeped through the plastic cup into his palm, tangible proof that this was no figment of his imagination. Lao Gua picked up a mousse cake, a sudden lump forming in his throat as his eyes stung with faint emotion. Back under Zhao Jinlong's management, afternoon tea had never even been a remote possibility. Employees were even forced to pool their own money to purchase bottled drinking water for the office water dispenser. Middle-aged men hardened by years of harsh corporate mistreatment found their emotional defenses crumbling against such small acts of kindness. Employees gathered in small groups around the lounge area, sampling the premium desserts while stealing frequent glances toward Lin Che's closed office door. Do you reckon the boss is buttering us up to make us pull an all-nighter working tonight? Zhou Kai muttered quietly as he sipped his drink through a straw. It's hard to tell for sure. Chao Guangjuan popped a cherry into his mouth and chewed slowly. We all know typical corporate tactics. This is the classic carrot before the stick strategy. Once we're full and comfortable, we'll feel obligated to work overtime without complaint. What should we do then? Eat our fill first. Chao Guangjuan grabbed another cherry. If overtime really gets mandated later on, we'll at least have full stomachs to sustain us through coding work. Lao Gua stayed out of the hushed conversation, sipping his coffee quietly while glancing toward Lin Che's glass-walled office. Behind the partition, Lin Che sat focused on his computer screen, occupied with some unknown work. Work resumed for the remainder of the afternoon. 5 o'clock sharp, official closing time arrived, yet not a single person made a move to leave. All 10 employees remained seated at their workstations, eyes fixed on their monitors, tapping away half-heartedly at their keyboards to feign busyness. In truth, each person pricked up their ears and stole sideways glances at one another nervously. Su Ming had long since finished writing his required code. He repeatedly switched between software windows to fake debugging work, his mind swirling with anxious thoughts. Could we actually leave now? Is this some sort of evaluation test? Would leaving promptly on our first day leave a negative impression on management? Lao Gua also stayed rooted at his desk. Years of conditioned behavior from his previous employer had trained him to view 5 o'clock merely as the warm-up phase for actual evening work hours. He had even mentally braced himself for another overnight work session, still worn down from consecutive sleepless nights, yet he dared not pack up his belongings. The whole team was putting on a performance for the invisible audience of management. Receiving 50% above market salary and enjoying high-end afternoon treats on their first workday made leaving promptly at 5 o'clock seem utterly inconceivable. If such an unbelievable scenario were genuine, everyone suspected it was merely a trap set by the boss to test employee dedication. Whoever dared to walk out the door first would likely face disciplinary action the following morning for poor work attitude the second they stepped into the building. Zhang Wei, a marketing planner, sent a private message to the testing engineer beside him. Are you heading out? The testing engineer replied. You go first, then I'll follow. You go first. No, you go first. The two men deadlocked, neither willing to be the first person to depart. No employee wanted to leave a negative impression in the company owner's mind. In this industry, finishing work and leaving on schedule was practically unheard of. 5 minutes ticked by. 10 minutes passed. The door to Lin Che's office creaked open. He stepped out into the central workspace and scanned every workstation. All 10 staff members were still present, seemingly buried in urgent coding work. A dull throb pulsed at Lin Che's temple, filled with utter confusion. What were these people doing lingering past 5:10? If they volunteered for overtime work, even for a mere 30 minutes, it would disrupt their daily routines, degrade sleep quality, and damage their overall physical and mental well-being. When the system conducted monthly health scans, any drop in their wellness rating would directly translate to wasted company funds. He could not afford to jeopardize his eligibility for the top-tier monthly lottery reward over unnecessary overtime hours. Lin Che cleared his throat, his voice carrying clearly across the quiet office space. It is already 5 o'clock. Why hasn't anyone left yet? Are you planning to sit here incubating chicken eggs at your desks? All staff members froze mid-action and looked upward with bewildered expressions. What was happening here? Judging by his tone, the boss appeared irritated by their lingering presence. Had they somehow done something wrong by choosing to work extra hours voluntarily? Lao Gua hesitated for a moment. As the oldest and most senior team member, he felt obligated to speak on everyone's behalf. He rose to his feet with a forced polite smile. Manager Lin, we still have minor loose ends to tie up with our coding tasks. We wanted to stay late to wrap up today's assigned work completely. Right, Manager Lin. I'll finish these few lines of code and head out shortly. It won't take long at all. Another programmer quickly echoed his sentiment. Every employee viewed voluntary overtime as the optimal method to demonstrate personal loyalty to the company. Lin Che felt a surge of exasperation welling up inside him. Why waste precious time dragging out unnecessary coding work? This is ridiculous. What does your employment contract state? Standard 9 to 5 working hours. What time is it now? 5 past 5. You have already stayed 10 minutes beyond your scheduled shift. Pack up your belongings immediately. Leave the premises right this second. A heavy silence washed over the office once more. The 10 employees exchanged perplexed stares, each mirroring identical confusion across their faces. Their employer was actively urging them to go home after work. What kind of unorthodox management strategy was this? Reverse workplace manipulation? Can none of you understand plain instructions? Lin Shay walked toward the main electrical breaker box and placed his hand atop the master power switch. If you refuse to leave voluntarily, I will cut the office power supply entirely. We're going. We're leaving now. Su Ming reacted first, hastily shutting down his computer and grabbing his backpack in a fluster. With the first person breaking the standoff, the rest of the staff scrambled to gather their personal items with lingering hesitation. Lao closed his laptop and shot a glance toward Lin Shay. The young boss's face showed genuine impatience for everyone to vacate the office rather than any hint of pretense. His urgency was completely authentic, not an act for show. 2 minutes later, all 10 employees filed out of the office in a single line. Their footsteps echoed softly down the corridor, as if afraid to disturb some unknown presence. The instant the elevator doors slid shut, every single person simultaneously released a deep breath of relief. Was he just putting on an act for us back there? Zhou Kai broke the heavy silence. It's hard to be certain. Xiao Guangjuan stroked his chin thoughtfully. Yet his frustration appeared entirely genuine. There was no trace of performance in his reaction. Do you think this is just the honeymoon phase of the probation period? Once we grow familiar with our job responsibilities, he'll shift towards strict overtime requirements later on. Another staff member voiced his speculation. Regardless of what happens in the future, Su Ming hugged his backpack to his chest, a faint smile tugging naturally at the corners of his mouth. It's been years since I've walked out of an office building before sunset. The elevator reached the ground floor, and the group split off to head their separate ways. Su Ming stepped out of Century Mansion, a crisp, cool autumn breeze brushing against his skin. Daylight still lingered in the sky. The roadside plane tree leaves glowed with a warm, golden hue under the setting sun. Ordinary office workers were just beginning to flood into the subway stations for their evening commute, while his workday had already concluded. The sensation was overwhelmingly foreign to him, almost surreal. Su Ming stood frozen on the sidewalk for several seconds before turning toward a different direction, not the subway entrance, but the fitness gym nearby. He had purchased a gym membership ages ago, yet had never once set foot inside the facility. Back during the era of mandatory 996 overtime schedules, he would collapse into bed the moment he got home each night, lucky to sleep in past noon on rare weekends. Working out had been nothing more than an unattainable fantasy. Today was different. It was barely 5 o'clock in the afternoon. 1 week later, a full week had passed since the team's official onboarding. Staron Technology had strictly upheld its anti-overtime policy without exception over those 7 days. Promptly at 5 o'clock each workday, Lin Shay would stand guard near the office entrance to ensure every employee clocked out and left the premises on time. Premium afternoon tea services were delivered without fail every single day at 3 o'clock, and the office snack shelf was restocked with brand new treats daily. The team's initial wariness and distrust gradually faded into cautious skepticism until they finally accepted this surreal new reality as truth. Lin Shay truly prohibited any form of unpaid overtime work within the company. Su Ming underwent the most noticeable personal transformation during this period. He headed to the gym for a 40-minute cardio session right after finishing work each day, leaving ample time to cook homemade dinners once he returned home. He visited a city park over the weekend and spotted blooming flowers across the grounds for the very first time, despite living in the nearby residential area for 3 full years. Lying in bed each night, he scrolled through his old social media feed filled with snapshots of late-night coding sessions, discarded takeout containers, and taximeter receipts captured in the wee hours of dawn. He opened a new post draft and typed out a short caption. Life actually exists beyond the 9 to 5 office desk. He attached a photo of his homemade tomato and egg stir-fry, messy in presentation but entirely prepared by his own hands. Within 3 minutes of posting the update, his comment section exploded with replies. Whoa, Su Ming, what dream job did you land? Posting photos of home-cooked dinner at 5:30. Bro, did you get hired at a retirement community disguised as a tech firm? Beg you to drop the company name and refer me in. I'm stuck pulling another all-nighter tonight, and my lower back is giving out on me. I don't buy it. This has to be some elaborate fake post. Su Ming smiled quietly and opted not to respond to any of the comments. Lao Guo's household, 2 extra dishes sat on the family dinner table, braised pork ribs and lightly seasoned stir-fried greens prepared by his wife. Daddy, his 5-year-old eldest son ran over and wrapped his arms around Lao Guo's leg, grinning widely upward at him. You picked me up from kindergarten again today. For 7 consecutive days, Lao Guo arrived at the kindergarten gates promptly at 5:30 each afternoon. His son had progressed from stunned surprise on the first day to comfortable familiarity, jumping for joy every time he spotted his father walking through the school gates. His wife wiped her hands on a kitchen towel as she walked out to the dining area and studied Lao Guo with a soft gaze. "You're a completely different person ever since switching companies." Lao Guo lifted his son into his arms and settled into a dining chair, picking up a rib and taking a bite. He replied with a single quiet word. Yet the smile resting on his lips was broader than all the smiles he had worn over the previous 5 years combined. Yeah, he thought back to his days at Cape Interactive. Every day, he came home after his children had fallen asleep and left for work before they woke up each morning. His wife raised their 2 kids all by herself, and he would often fail to reply to the messages she sent late into the night amid his heavy workload. He would never live that kind of life again. Lao Luo glanced down at his phone. A company-wide message had been sent by Su Xiaoya on WeChat. "At everyone, the afternoon tea menu for next week is out. Vote for whatever you'd like to eat." Director Lin said everyone must pick at least one favorite item. The company will cover all costs no matter the price. Lao Luo stared at the lengthy list featuring milk tea, cakes, fruit platters, and freshly brewed coffee, then let out a faint snort and set his phone aside. "What are you laughing at?" his wife asked. "Nothing," Lao Luo replied, picking up a rib and placing it into his son's bowl. "I was just burning myself out to make a living back then. This new company actually treats its employees like human beings." Lao Luo made a silent vow to himself. Now that Lin Che had given him a dignified life and a generous salary, he would pour every ounce of his effort into the project development to live up to such generous compensation. It was the final day of the month, and the offices of Starhan Technology were filled with a warm, peaceful atmosphere. The lingering aroma of afternoon tea hung in the air, and genuine relaxation showed on every employee's face. Su Ming even had the leisure to browse new mechanical keyboards online, while Lao Luo chatted with his wife about dinner plans for the evening. A month prior, a life like this would have been nothing but a distant fantasy for all of them. They worked fixed hours from 9 to 5 every weekday, enjoyed full weekends off, sat through no endless meetings, and were never bombarded with urgent work calls deep into the night. Best of all, they no longer had to endure their previous boss's cold hostility. "Everyone, voting for next week's afternoon tea is open." Su Xiaoya shared a link in the company group filled with an extensive selection of desserts and beverages. Director Lin approved an unlimited budget this round. "Vote for anything your heart desires." The group instantly erupted in excitement. "Whoa, Wagyu sandwiches are an option. We can get Shine Muscat grapes this season. Our boss is incredible. This cake I picked costs over 300 yuan per serving. Is this really allowed?" As the staff chatted animatedly about their afternoon tea choices, a string of phone notification tones chimed out across the entire office space. Salary payment notifications had arrived. Su Ming instinctively opened the text message. He had only joined the company mid-month and worked merely 2 weeks, so he had expected to receive half his regular pay at most. Yet his mind went completely blank the second he read the numerical figure on his screen. "Deposit of 32,500 renminbi received in your debit card ending in XXXX on X/X. Current balance, XXXX.XX RMB. 32,500 yuan. Su Ming's brain froze for 3 full seconds. This could not be right. His base monthly salary was 30,000 yuan, and with allowances factored in, his net pay roughly matched this sum. But he had only been on the job for half the month. He should have received no more than 15,000 yuan. Why had he gotten full monthly pay? Was there a system error at the bank? Or had the finance department mistakenly typed an extra zero? Su Ming's heart raced, cold sweat forming across his palms. If the payment was an administrative mistake, he would have to return the excess funds. Not only would his momentary joy vanish, but leaving a petty, greedy impression on his boss would be a terrible loss. He looked up and noticed his co-workers wore identical stunned expressions. Lao Luo gripped his phone tightly, brows furrowed and mouth agape, as if he had seen a ghost. Zhang Wei from the planning team repeatedly locked and unlocked his phone, trying to confirm he was not seeing things. Zhou Kai stood up straight away, walked over to Chao Guangjuan, a backend developer, and whispered urgently while pointing at his screen. "Old Chao, how much did you get?" 42,500, full monthly pay, not a cent deducted. Chao Guangjuan answered, equally dumbfounded. "Same for me. I've only been here 10 days. Zhou Kai's voice cracked with shock. A hush fell over the open office, broken only by quiet, confused murmurs. "How is everyone getting full monthly wages? That makes no sense. We all started mid-month. I've worked in this industry for a decade and only ever had wages docked, never extra money handed out. This defies all logic. Could it be an error from management? Should we go ask for clarification?" Who wants to volunteer? If this was a deliberate gesture from the boss, pointing out the mistake might prompt them to take the money back. Everyone fell into hesitation. Instead of bringing joy, this unexpected windfall had become a stressful burden. Having navigated the cutthroat game industry for years, they had grown traumatized by exploitative corporate tactics. Wage cuts, delayed paychecks, unreasonable fines. These were the harsh realities they were accustomed to. Starhan Technologies' generosity, refusing to deduct partial wages and voluntarily paying full salaries, completely overturned everything they believed about corporate employers. A single thought echoed through every person's mind. When something seems too good to be true, there is always an underlying catch. After a long silence, every pair of eyes drifted toward one person, Su Xiaoya. As one of the company's earliest employees and Lin Che's most trusted assistant, she was the perfect person to clarify the situation with their boss. Meanwhile, Su Xiaoya stared at her own phone in a daze. She had also received her full monthly salary, yet her initial reaction was gratitude rather than suspicion. Lin Ge must have seen how hard I've been running errands and handling tasks lately, so he gave me full pay as a reward. He's truly such a thoughtful person. Lost in her heartfelt assumptions, Su Xiaoya was nudged by Zhou Kai. Xiaoya, I think there was a mistake with our paychecks. Huh? Snapped out of her thoughts, Su Xiaoya took in the group's tense, anxious faces and realized the issue was far more widespread than she thought. All of us were hired mid-month, but the company transferred our full monthly salaries, Lao Luo said gravely, nodding toward Lin Che's private office. We need to get to the bottom of this. Your director Lin's closest associate, would you mind going to ask him? Please go for us, Xiaoya. We're counting on you. Faced with their pleading gazes, Su Xiaoya straightened her posture and stepped forward resolutely. Leave this to me. She walked briskly toward the closed glass door, glancing back to flash her colleagues a confident, reassuring smile before knocking. Inside Lin Che's office, the rich aroma of premium Longjing tea filled the room. He leaned back comfortably in his executive chair with his legs crossed, sipping warm tea while gazing out at the river view. Thoroughly pleased with himself. The month was finally drawing to a close, and he had gone to great lengths to maximize gains from his system benefits. He offered employees pay rates at 150 of the market average alongside top-tier subsidies and benefits across the board. Then he had devised an ingenious plan. Every new hire would receive a full month's salary for their first pay period, regardless of their actual start date. Most staff had only worked half the month, so prorated pay would leave tens of thousands of yuan in unused reimbursable funds. By distributing full salaries instead, the extra expenditure would be directly refunded into his personal account. He silently congratulated himself on his clever scheme. Knock, knock, knock. Come in. Su Xiaoya pushed the door open, her expression a mix of confusion and sincere admiration. Lin Ge, I need to talk to you about something. Take a seat. Lin Che gestured to the chair across his desk. Su Xiaoya sat upright with her hands folded neatly on her knees, speaking like a subordinate reporting formally to a superior. Paychecks were deposited to everyone's accounts today, but we believe there was an error. Oh, Lin Che raised an eyebrow, feigning surprise. What sort of error? All team members received full monthly pay, even though every single one joined mid-month, and should only be paid for the days they actually worked, Su Xiaoya explained carefully, studying his expression closely. Everyone is extremely worried that the finance team made a mistake, so they sent me to check with you. Lin Che set down his teacup and wore a knowing, enigmatic smile, instead of giving a direct reply. Xiaoya, do you honestly believe Starhan Technology can be compared to every ordinary company out there? Su Xiaoya froze for a moment before shaking her head vigorously. Of course not. Exactly. Lin Che leaned forward slightly, interlacing his fingers atop his desk with the poised demeanor of a seasoned entrepreneur. No payroll error has occurred. This is an unadvertised company benefit. All new employees receive full monthly compensation for their first month of employment, no matter how few days they work. The beginning of a new job is always the most financially stressful period. Rent, utility bills, daily expenses, and commuting costs pile up relentlessly. Many people leave their previous jobs after being shortchanged on wages, leaving them with minimal personal savings. Now that we've brought these people onto our team, the least we can do is spare them unnecessary financial stress right from the start. Privately, he added to himself. Naturally, it also keeps my reimbursement quota from going unused. Su Xiaoya's jaw dropped in shock upon hearing about this hidden perk. Having worked in corporate environments for over a year, she was only familiar with practices such as reduced probationary salaries, delayed provident fund contributions during the probation period, and multi-month waiting times for official employment confirmation. Full pay for any number of working days within the first month? It was unprecedented kindness. After a beat of stunned silence, Su Xiaoya felt she could not possibly comprehend Lin Che's exceptional mindset. Watching his calm, composed demeanor, her opinion of him elevated exponentially, framing him as a truly virtuous leader. This was true magnanimity. He cared far less about small monetary costs and far more about fostering genuine loyalty within his team. In fact, the word by loyalty felt far too shallow to describe Lin Che's intentions. Through tangible actions, he treated every member of staff as valued family. Lin Gu, you're just incredible. Emotion welled up in Su Xiaoya's eyes, leaving her unable to find the right words to articulate her gratitude. All right, calm down. Lin Che waved his hand dismissively to cut through her emotional display, uncomfortable with public sentimentality. Don't stand there tearing up. Go reassure everyone right away. If the team stays anxious worrying about pay deductions, their work mood and productivity will suffer, and that is a genuine financial loss for the company. Understood immediately. Su Xiaoya shot to her feet and nodded earnestly, as if receiving an official imperial decree. She turned to rush out the door, then paused to glance back at Lin Che with overwhelming admiration shining in her eyes. Rest assured, Lin Gu, none of us will let you down. She hurried out of the office in a rush. Lin Che shook his head helplessly at her retreating figure and picked up his teacup once more. Don't bother trying to repay me with overwork, he thought. If everyone simply leaves work on time and stays healthy, that is the greatest repayment you could possibly give me. Su Xiaoya practically sprinted back into the open office area. 9 pairs of eyes locked onto her instantly amid the thick, tense atmosphere. What did he say? Was it a payroll mistake? Flushed with excitement, Su Xiaoya took a deep breath and announced loudly for everyone to hear. There was no mistake whatsoever. Director Lin confirmed this is an exclusive internal benefit. Every new team member receives full monthly pay for their first month of employment, regardless of their actual working days. Complete silence blanketed the office for 10 full seconds. You could hear a pin drop. The quiet was broken by collective gasps of astonishment. I did not just hear that correctly, did I? Getting paid for a full month after only 2 weeks of work. This is an official company benefit? Lao Luo stood dumbfounded. With nearly a decade of professional experience across 3 different employers, he had never encountered such a policy. Su Ming pushed his glasses up his nose, his fundamental understanding of corporate operations completely upended. Zhou Kai and Chao Guangjuan stared at one another, equal measures stunned and disbelieving. They had never met an employer so willing to incur extra costs while prioritizing employee well-being. Every trace of anxiety and suspicion dissolved in an instant, replaced by overwhelming gratitude and a powerful sense of belonging. This was truly an ideal workplace. Joining Star Han Technology was nothing short of incredible luck for every single one of them. The office atmosphere shifted from stunned shock to intense collective fervor. Team members exchanged looks, unable to contain their elation. Su Ming suddenly stood from his workstation with unwavering resolve. Everyone, may I have your attention? All heads turned toward him. Su Ming drew a shaky breath, overcome with emotion. Director Lin treats us extraordinarily well. Industry-leading salaries, comprehensive benefits, and now this unheard-of benefit for new hires. We cannot accept such generous compensation without putting in our utmost effort. He scanned the room, fire burning bright in his gaze. Our flagship product is still in development, and our current project timeline absolutely has room for improvement. I plan to stay late this evening to refine and optimize the functional module I'm responsible for. Su Ming finished speaking, and Lao Luo abruptly rose to his feet as the first to agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I'll stay behind as well. His voice thick with feeling, Lao Luo stared at the bank alert showing a 52,500 renminbi deposit, warmth rising to his eyes. These past 2 weeks have felt like a dream. I clock out on schedule each day to share dinner with my wife and children and spend weekends out with my family. Receiving such generous pay on top of this balanced work-life dynamic leaves me feeling guilty for delivering only minimal workload output. His sentiment resonated with every person present. Having spent years subjected to exploitative wolf culture and trading their physical health for meager wages, they had grown accustomed to grueling overwork. Suddenly being placed in a supportive workplace with reasonable hours and above-market pay left them feeling uneasy about earning money so easily. Their employer showed them kindness and respect. They were determined to reciprocate that goodwill. The entire office buzzed with newfound motivation. Zhou Kai, the QA tester, and back-end developer Chao Guangjuan exchanged a quick glance and nodded in unison. Zhou Kai slammed his palm lightly against his desk. I still have several modules left to finish testing. I'll use this extra time to speed up progress and avoid holding up the development team. Zhang Wei adjusted his glasses and stood up. I can polish finer details within the copywriting scripts to minimize revision rounds down the line. Count me in. I'm staying late too. All 10 employees volunteered to work overtime. Having endured unfair exploitation at previous companies, they deeply valued the dignity and respect afforded to them here. Lin Che provided far more than competitive pay and perks. He gave them the basic human respect they had long been denied. They were determined to repay this kindness with hard work. Inspired by their full-month paychecks, the entire team maintained peak energy levels for the rest of the afternoon. The office was filled with the rapid tapping of keyboard keys. Everyone worked with exceptional efficiency, writing clean code, resolving bugs rapidly, and drafting creative planning documents. They were eager to prove their value and repay their boss's generosity through tangible results. The clock struck 5 o'clock, marking official closing time. Lin Che stretched his arms widely inside his private office, shut down his computer, and slipped on his coat hanging over the back of his chair. Leaving work promptly at 5 o'clock had become his daily routine over the past 2 weeks. Humming a casual tune, he pushed open his office door. According to regular routine, the staff should have been packing up their belongings to head home by this hour. Instead, the scene that greeted him left him frozen. Not a single person had packed their bags or prepared to leave. All 10 employees remained glued to their screens, fingers flying rapidly across their keyboards. The unified clatter of keystrokes echoed loudly throughout the workspace, creating a sound akin to heavy rain beating against plant leaves. An intense atmosphere of frantic overtime work permeated every corner of the office. Lin Che frowned sharply, instantly sensing trouble. It's 5 o'clock. He walked to the center of the open workspace and raised his voice. Why hasn't anyone left yet? Are you waiting for the company to provide complimentary late-night meals? The typing fell silent immediately. Su Ming was the first to stand, eyes bright and energized with none of the usual work fatigue. Director Lin, we've reached a collective decision to voluntarily work overtime this evening to push our project timeline forward. Lao Luo leaned out from behind his large monitor and spoke earnestly at full volume. We truly cannot accept your exceptional compensation and benefits while putting in minimal daily effort. We are determined to deliver a solid prototype for our company's debut product as soon as possible. He's absolutely right, Director Lin. We're committed to putting in this overtime. Please do not try to dissuade us. Our minds are made up. The rest of the team voiced their agreement one after another, impassioned as if they were preparing for a critical mission rather than staying late to complete office work. Lin Che stood rooted to the spot listening to their loyal declarations, overcome with dizziness as his blood pressure spiked sharply. Overtime? Why on earth would they choose to burn themselves out working extra hours? This was the final day of the month, the exact day the system would scan every employee's physical and mental wellness metrics. If anyone overexerted themselves and their wellness scores dropped even slightly, his reimbursement percentage would be reduced. Their sudden collective drive to work overtime was a nightmare for his financial gains. Though his inner thoughts screamed in panic, Lin Che maintained his composure externally, forcing a calm, pleasant smile onto his face. I appreciate all your kindness, but this really isn't necessary. Work will never end. Striking a proper balance between work and rest matters most. Pack up your belongings and head home right now. Assuming his boss was trying to cut overtime pay, Su Ming quickly chimed in. Rest assured, Director Lin. We're working overtime of our own free will. We won't ask for a single cent of overtime pay. The rest of the staff echoed his words one after another. Exactly. We don't want overtime pay at all. We just want to contribute more to the company. Lin Che felt an urge to groan in frustration. Who on earth brought up overtime pay? Do I look like someone who cares about that trivial sum? What's more, money was never the issue here. Lin Che took a deep breath, wiped the smile off his face, and wore a stern expression instead. With his hands clasped behind his back, he stared at his 10 clueless employees with a look of heartfelt exasperation. This is not about overtime pay. If you stay an extra half hour today, tomorrow you'll push yourselves to work an extra hour, and 2 hours the day after that. If this keeps up, where will it all lead? Silence instantly fell over the office space. Everyone was stunned by Lin Che's sudden outburst. Lin Che's gaze landed first on Lao Luo, and he strode over toward the man. Lao Luo. Lao Luo stood straight at attention. Here, Director Lin. You've got 2 kids waiting for you at home. Lin Che looked at him earnestly. Which means more to them. A few extra lines of mediocre code written by you here, or their father tucking them in with a bedtime story? Lao Luo froze on the spot. Work is never the entirety of life. Family is everything. Every minute you spend working overtime here is time you cruelly steal from your family. Lin Che pressed on firmly. Once you miss those precious moments of your children growing up, no amount of money in the world can ever buy them back. Lao Luo was left speechless, swallowing every retort that had risen to his lips. He thought back to the past 2 weeks. Every day when he picked his son up from kindergarten, the little boy would spot him from afar and dash over with unrestrained joy. That genuine happiness had never been within his reach before, since he could never make it to school pickup time in the past. Lin Che then turned towards Su Ming. Su Ming. Su Ming immediately stood up straight. You finally carved out time after work to hit the gym and get in shape, and your fitness has just started improving. Are you going to ruin your progress with late nights again? Lin Che pointed sharply at his hairline. Take a good look at your forehead hair. Keep burning the midnight oil like this, and you'll need hair transplant surgery by the time you hit 30. Su Ming subconsciously reached up to touch the top of his head. While obvious balding hadn't set in yet, his boss's warning sent a chill racing down his spine. Lin Che swept his eyes over young men like Zhou Kai and Zhang Wei next. And what about the rest of you guys? Any of you seeing someone? The group shook their heads in unison. Then why aren't you rushing out of the office to meet people? Lin Che threw up his hands, thoroughly disappointed in their choices. Stuck in the office coding day in and day out. Do you think lines of code can bring you a romantic partner? Can C++ keep you company during cold nights? Will Python walk around shopping malls with you? Why not experience the sweetness of a healthy romantic relationship instead? You're wasting the best years of your youth cooped up in this office. When you get older, you'll have no choice but to endure the harsh judgments of blind date markets. Zhou Kai swallowed hard. Director Lin, is the blind date market really that brutal? Lin Che let out a cold snort and vividly laid out the harsh realities of blind date culture. Brutal is putting it mildly. Most women will require you to stand over 1.8 meters tall, own a fully paid-off apartment in Donghai City, drive a car worth no less than 500,000 yuan, live separately from your parents after marriage, and pay a bride price starting at 880,000 yuan. Even if you check every single box, they'll still judge you based on your hairline and belly fat. He painted the grim picture in meticulous detail. If you keep pulling all-nighters coding here, you'll end up with a pot belly and a receding hairline in a couple of years. You won't even get a chance to be considered by potential dates in those matchmaking pools. Zhou Kai and Zhang Wei gasped in shock, and the other young men felt a surge of anxiety. They all silently resolved that they would rather stay single for life than subject themselves to such a stressful blind date experience. Lastly, Lin Che glanced sideways at Su Xiaoya, who had huddled in the corner trying to blend into the background. Xiaoya, you're one of the company's earliest employees. Why are you joining everyone else in this reckless overtime nonsense? Su Xiaoya stuck out her tongue and grinned playfully. I just wanted us to grow the company bigger and stronger sooner, so you could settle down with a great partner and reach all your life goals, Brother Lin. Cut the chatter. Grab your things and get out of here immediately. Lin Che's combination of patient reasoning and pointed criticism dismantled the solemn self-sacrificing atmosphere that had filled the office. The employees exchanged awkward glances before gradually rising from their desks to shut down their computers and pack their belongings. Though they still felt an urge to contribute more to the company, their director's words did make a lot of sense. Lin Che stood by the office entrance, monitoring each employee clock out and leave like a supervisor. Only after the last person stepped into the elevator did he heave a long sigh, worn out as if he had just fought a grueling battle. Leaning against the doorframe, he cursed inwardly. These troublesome people insisted on causing trouble on the final day of the month, giving him nothing but headaches. If their health metrics dropped because of unapproved overtime tonight, there would be no way for him to fix the mess. Outside the office, the elevator descended smoothly. An awkward, heavy silence hung over the 10 employees packed inside the spacious cabin. Staring at the glowing red floor numbers ticking upward above him, Su Ming's Adam's apple bobbed as he was the first to break the silence, his voice trembling slightly. Guys, Director Lin treats us far better than we could ever deserve. He recalled previous employers who had only berated him for slow work and labeled him incompetent. Lin Che, on the other hand, voluntarily deposited extra money into his bank account and worried openly about his physical health and receding hairline. Tears welled up in Su Ming's eyes as he sniffled to soothe his stinging nasal passages. Standing nearby, Lao Luo nodded deeply, the corners of his eyes glistening with emotion. Director Lin truly sees us as human beings. He let out a weary sigh thick with years of workplace hardship. Most so-called caring bosses out there call everyone family to our faces yet exploit their employees to the brink of exhaustion behind closed doors. Su Ming clenched his fists and swore solemnly. If anyone dares badmouth Director Lin anywhere in public from now on, I'll be the first person to stand up for him. The young men, including Zhou Kai, nodded firmly in agreement. He's truly a conscientious leader and a beacon for every office worker in this industry. He worries about our romantic lives alongside our careers. Where else could we ever find a boss this thoughtful? I've made up my mind. Starting tomorrow, I'll work on improving myself to find a partner worthy of Director Lin's efforts on our behalf. Standing in the corner, Su Xiaoya listened to her colleague's heartfelt words and lifted her chin with quiet pride. She had long known that Brother Lin possessed a vision and integrity far beyond ordinary business owners. Working for someone of his caliber was a stroke of tremendous good fortune. 11:55 p.m. Lin Che slouched on the worn sofa in his rental apartment, his phone resting on his chest as its screen flickered awake every few seconds. 11:56 p.m. He pulled up his system interface for the 5th time that night. Total monthly compensation and benefit expenditure, 380,000 renminbi. This sum covered full salaries for all 10 staff members, maximum social insurance and housing fund contributions, meal subsidies, transportation allowances, housing stipends, plus complimentary afternoon tea, fruit and snacks supplied daily in the office. All real funds spent directly on his employees. If their overall wellness scores reached the standard, the full 380,000 yuan would be transferred entirely into his personal bank account. 11:57 p.m. This should go smoothly, Lin Che muttered to himself quietly. For the entire month, he had strictly enforced a 9-to-5 work schedule with 2 full days off each weekend, maintained the daily afternoon tea service, and never permitted employees to stay past official clock-out time. While today had brought an unexpected hiccup with the voluntary overtime attempt, he had successfully sent all his stubborn staff home in the end. His score was unlikely to be perfect, but an 80 out of 100 was guaranteed. 90 points was well within reach too. After all, his employees enjoyed working conditions better than most retirees. Top-tier workstations with premium monitors, Herman Miller ergonomic office chairs. Unlimited snacks and beverages were always available in the office. Staff left the office promptly at 5 every day, enjoyed full weekends off, and had plenty of spare time to spend with their children, exercise at the gym, and prepare home-cooked meals. If their physical and mental wellness scores didn't hit full marks under such circumstances, the system was simply cheating him. 11:58 p.m. Lin Che sat upright on the sofa. 11:59 p.m. He gripped his phone tightly, a patch of sweat soaking through the back of his shirt. 380,000 yuan. As someone who had scraped by on a fixed monthly salary of merely 8,000 yuan only a month prior, this figure felt utterly surreal. The clock struck midnight, and the system notification echoed sharply inside his mind. Ding. Monthly settlement initiated. Scanning physical and mental wellness metrics for all employees. Lin Che held his breath. The moment he had waited for was here. Employee 001 Su Xiaoya. Physical mental wellness score, 100 points perfect. This young lady spent most of her free time eating and watching anime. Her health was bound to be flawless. Employee 002 Su Ming. Physical mental wellness score, 100 points fantastic. The man stuck to a strict gym routine these days, stabilizing his hairline completely. A perfect score was more than earned. Employee 003 Luo Zhangwo. Physical mental wellness score, 100 points incredible. Even this middle-aged overworked veteran employee achieved full marks. Quality family time clearly did wonders for his overall well-being. Employee 004 Zhang Wei. Physical mental wellness score, 100 points. Employee 005 Zhou Kai. Physical mental wellness score, 100 points. Lin Che's heart pounded harder with every new score displayed. 5 employees in a row, all with perfect ratings. Employee 006 Chao Guangjuan. Physical mental wellness score, 100 points. Employee 007 100 points. Employee 008 100 points. Employee 009 100 points. Employee 010 100 points. Scan completed. Average physical and mental wellness rating across all staff, 100 points perfect rating. Lin Che shot straight up from the sofa, slamming his knee hard against the edge of the coffee table. He winced in sharp pain, but paid it no mind whatsoever. A perfect score for every single employee. Due to a perfect wellness rating, your cashback multiplier for this settlement is set to 100. Your total monthly compensation expenditure of 380,000 renminbi will be fully refunded to your personal bank account. Congratulations on unlocking the perfect wellness rating achievement. You have been awarded 3 entries for the Lucky Draw lottery. Would you like to initiate the draws immediately? Draw them right now. Immediately. Lin Shae's voice cracked as it reverberated through his empty rental unit. Luckily, the building had poor sound insulation, but all the neighboring residents were sound asleep at this hour. First draw in progress. Congratulations. You have obtained a 10x cashback card valid for a single settlement period. Lin Shae froze entirely in place. 10 times the original amount. 380,000 multiplied by 10 equals 3,800,000 yuan. His voice warped completely from shock. Second draw in progress. Congratulations. You have obtained a 2x cashback card valid for a single settlement period, an outstanding reward he could save for next month's settlement. A wide grin spread across Lin Shae's face. Third draw in progress. Congratulations. You have received a direct cash reward of 100,000 renminbi, instantly deposited into your personal bank account. 100,000 yuan added directly to his balance. Your inventory contains an unused 10x cashback card. Would you like to apply it to this current settlement? Use it, obviously. There's no question about it. 10x cashback card successfully activated. Calculated refund amount. 380,000 times 10 is equal to 3,800,000 RMB. Fund transfer to your personal account in progress. Transfer completed successfully. Lin Shae scrambled across the floor for his phone, his fingers trembling so badly he input his bank app password incorrectly 3 times in a row. When he finally pulled up his account balance, the number displayed on screen made his scalp tingle with disbelief. 3,900,000 renminbi. 3,900,000 yuan in total, consisting of the 3.8 million yuan from the multiplied cashback, plus the 100,000 yuan lottery cash prize. Lin Shae stared at the long string of digits, his pupils blown wide open. Just 1 month ago, he had been a powerless worker getting yelled at by Zhao Jinlong at Haijiao Interactive. He survived on an 8,000 yuan monthly wage, lived in a cramped low-cost rental home, and hesitated for ages before paying an extra yuan for a fried egg on his cheap takeout meals. Now, merely 30 days later, nearly 4 million yuan sat safely in his bank account. Lin Shae paced frantically back and forth 5 full times across his tiny rental space before he managed to calm his racing heartbeat. He sank back onto the sofa and stared blankly up at the ceiling, murmuring to himself, "What should I do with this money first? Buy a house. Not urgent for the time being." Even with his current funds, he could not afford a high-end luxury property in Donghai City. Purchase a vehicle? That was a reasonable plan he could move forward with right away. As Lin Shae mulled over vehicle options, he mindlessly scrolled through his phone contacts and paused when he reached the contact labeled Mom. Memories surfaced of the weathered old family home back in his hometown, with peeling exterior walls. His parents endured sweltering 30-plus degree summers without turning on the air conditioner just to cut down on electricity bills. After a moment's hesitation, he opened the money transfer page. He first typed in a transfer amount of 500,000 yuan, then deleted the number immediately. Sending 500,000 all at once would alarm his parents terribly. They would lie awake worrying non-stop and bombard him with endless questions. He revised the amount down to 100,000 yuan instead. Lin Shae typed out a short message to accompany the transfer. "Mom, I received a large bonus from a major project I worked on. Please use this money for you and Dad to improve your quality of life and stop pinching pennies unnecessarily." He sent the message off. He dared not admit he had started his own company. His mother would book an immediate train ticket to his city to investigate everything the second she found out. He needed to take things slowly and let his family gradually accept that their son had become financially stable and successful. After sending the transfer, Lin Shae tossed his phone onto the sofa and stretched out flat across the cushions in a relaxed sprawl. Tomorrow would be the day he bought his new car. 8 a.m. Lin Shae's phone buzzed violently on his nightstand with an incoming call from his mother, the vibration rattling the device across the wooden surface. Lin Shae fumbled for the phone half asleep and swiped to answer the call. "Xiao Che, what on earth have you done?" His mother's voice carried overwhelming volume, buzzing sharply in Lin Shae's ears and making his head throb instantly. "Where did this large sum of money come from? Tell me the truth right now. Are you involved in any illegal activities out there?" Lin Shae held the phone a short distance from his ear and cleared his throat to respond calmly. "It's just a legitimate project bonus, Mom." "What kind of project pays 100,000 yuan in a single bonus? Don't try lying to me. I earned it through regular formal employment. Our company landed a huge client order, so our boss issued performance bonuses for the team. Keep the money for yourself instead. You'll need it for marriage and a home someday. Your father and I don't need this money. I'll send the full amount back to you tomorrow. I know you mean well, but please let yourself spend it freely. I'll be genuinely upset if you send this money back. You're such a stubborn child." Lin Shae ended the call with a long, weary sigh. Just as he expected, his parents grew anxious over a mere 100,000 yuan transfer. They would most likely call the police out of shock if they knew he held nearly 4 million yuan in his bank account. Lin Shay rolled out of bed, washed up, and stood in front of the mirror adjusting his casual tracksuit that cost less than 500 yuan in total. Today he was definitely buying himself a car. It would be embarrassing for a system host to keep hailing taxis while carrying millions in his bank account. Lin Shay walked downstairs, flagged down a taxi, and directed the driver toward the official Porsche dealership in Donghai City. This would be his very first personal vehicle, and he refused to settle for anything subpar. 30 minutes later, the taxi pulled up smoothly at Donghai City's most upscale automotive commercial district. A sleek modern building wrapped entirely in glass panels stood before him, the polished Porsche shield emblem gleaming brightly under direct sunlight. Lin Shay paid the taxi fare, stepped out of the vehicle, and strode straight into the showroom. Cool conditioned air washed over him the moment he crossed the entrance threshold. Multiple polished sports cars and SUVs lined the spacious, brightly lit showroom floor. Lin Shay's gaze swept past the Cayenne and 911 models before locking onto a white Grand Tourer displayed prominently in the center of the hall, a Porsche Panamera GTS. Its streamlined body design, signature quad exhaust outlets, wide carbon fiber rear wing, and low, aggressive stance embodied the perfect definition of a refined yet powerful performance vehicle. Lin Shay walked over and circled the car slowly to examine every detail. At that moment, a young sales associate wearing a formal branded suit walked over to greet him. The associate's name was Zhang Bin, only 6 months into his sales career at the dealership. Zhang Bin sized Lin Shay up from head to toe, taking note of his plain, affordable clothing. Though he doubted a customer dressed so casually could afford a Porsche, he maintained his professional polite smile regardless. "Good morning, sir. Are you here to browse our vehicles? This unit is our newly arrived Panamera GTS available for immediate delivery. It is fitted with a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 engine." Lin Shay paid no attention to the tedious technical specifications being recited. He simply pulled open the driver's side door and sank comfortably into the driver's seat. The deep burgundy genuine leather interior, carbon fiber sports steering wheel, and tightly supportive seat cushions felt incredibly premium to the touch. This was the tangible comfort wealth could bring. Lin Shay nodded in satisfaction before stepping back out of the vehicle and turning toward the sales associate. "Go fetch the purchase contract for this car." Zhang Bin froze on the spot, certain he had misheard the customer's words. "Sir, I beg your pardon?" Lin Shay raised an eyebrow slightly. "I told you to get the paperwork ready. I'm purchasing this vehicle today." Zhang Bin's eyes widened as he swallowed nervously. "Sir, this is the high-performance GTS trim fully upgraded with the complete sport package and a Burmester premium sound system. The total on-road price after all custom options adds up to well over 2 million yuan. Zhang Bin deliberately stressed the figure of over 2 million yuan. Having dealt with countless young visitors who only came to take photos with luxury cars for social media clout, he assumed this plainly dressed young man fell into that same category. Growing tired of unnecessary back and forth, Lin Shay pulled a bank card out of his pocket and slapped it firmly down onto the signing desk beside the display vehicle, uttering 2 concise words. "Full payment. Swipe the card." Zhang Bin's breathing halted completely as he stared blankly at the ordinary-looking debit card resting on the table, his mind struggling to process the scene unfolding before him. In 6 months working at the Porsche dealership, he had never witnessed a customer purchase a vehicle in such a mannered, no test drive. No review of technical specs, no price negotiation, not even a single question about complimentary vehicle film or floor mats. The man had walked in, picked out a 2 million yuan luxury car, and demanded full payment in under 5 minutes flat, like buying groceries from a street market. Lin Shay tapped the desk to pull the stunned sales associate back to reality. "Is there a problem with the sale? Has this vehicle already been reserved by another customer?" Zhang Bin snapped out of his daze with an abrupt jolt and bowed sharply at the waist. "Of course we can sell it to you, sir, absolutely." Zhang Bolt sprinted toward the front desk at full speed to retrieve a mobile POS payment terminal. His hands shook noticeably as he accepted the bank card, inserted it into the device, and entered the required payment amount. Lin Shay typed in his payment PIN without hesitation. A crisp beep echoed as the POS machine began printing out a long paper transaction receipt. Payment approved successfully. Staring at the large transaction amount printed on the receipt, Zhang Bin's heart raced with excitement. The payment had cleared with no spending limits exceeded and sufficient account balance available. This customer was a major high-value client. Zhang Bin's attitude underwent an immediate 180-degree shift, bowing nearly 90 degrees out of deference. Mr. Lin, please head to our customer lounge for complimentary refreshments while I immediately prepare your official purchase contract, temporary license plate, and vehicle insurance paperwork. We will ensure you can drive this vehicle off our lot today without delay. Lin Che nodded indifferently and followed a hostess into the premium customer lounge area. He sank into a soft, genuine leather sofa and sipped a freshly brewed cup of coffee brought over by the lounge attendant. Spending over 2 million yuan without a second thought was an unparalleled sense of freedom only available to the wealthy. Pure, unadulterated satisfaction. Lin Che leaned back comfortably against the sofa cushions, planning to treat himself to a meal at an upscale restaurant after collecting his new car to reward himself for his hard work over the past few weeks. Just then, a familiar, arrogant voice sounded from directly behind him. "Well, look who it is, Lin Che. Is that really you?" Lin Che twisted his head around to see a sharply dressed young man with neatly combed slicked back hair strutting toward him confidently. A polished Rolex Submariner watch glinted prominently on his wrist. This was Wang Chao, Lin Che's former university classmate. During their college years, Wang Chao had flaunted his family's moderate wealth constantly to curry favor with his peers. Back in school, Wang Chao had relentlessly pursued the most popular girl in their cohort, only to be openly rejected. The young woman instead dated Lin Che for a period of time, publicly embarrassing Wang Chao in front of their entire class. From that moment onward, Wang Chao had treated Lin Che as his personal rival, mocking and antagonizing him at every available opportunity. Wang Chao walked with a woman closely linked on his arm, a well-known local internet influencer named Lily. She was dressed in a refined red off-the-shoulder wrap dress paired with elegant sheer branded tights and 10-centimeter red-soled heels. Her makeup was meticulously applied with careful attention to detail as she leaned gently against Wang Chao's side. Wang Chao scanned Lin Che's worn tracksuit from head to toe, a mocking grin spreading across his face instantly. "What a sad state you've ended up in. Did you come to this Porsche dealership to apply for a sales associate position?" Lily covered her mouth with her hand and let out a soft laugh, leaning closer into Wang Chao's side. "Chao Ge, your former classmate's outfit is far too casual for such a high-end retail space. The hiring team here wouldn't even accept his job application resume." Her sweet, exaggerated tone sent an uncomfortable shiver down anyone who heard it. Wang Chao grew even more smug, stepping forward with a pompous wide stance to tower over Lin Che with a patronizing air. "If you're truly struggling to get by in Donghai City, you can come to me for help. My company currently has an opening for a security guard position at our facility. Considering our history as college classmates, I can put in a good word with human resources to get you hired directly without a formal interview, saving you years of difficult job hunting struggles. I appreciate all your thoughtfulness, but this really isn't necessary. Work is endless. Striking a balance between work and rest matters most. Hurry up, pack your things, and head home." Su Ming assumed his boss was trying to cut overtime pay and quickly chimed in. "Don't worry, Mr. Lin. We're volunteering to work overtime. We won't ask for any overtime pay at all." The rest of the staff echoed his words one after another. "Exactly right. We don't want overtime compensation. We just want to contribute more to the company." Lin Che was on the verge of exasperation. Who on earth brought up overtime pay? Do I look like someone who cares about such petty overtime fees? More importantly, money was never the issue here. Lin Che took a deep breath, wiped the smile off his face, and wore a stern expression instead. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, staring with a pained look at his 10 clueless employees. "This isn't about overtime pay. If you stay an extra half hour today, you'll push it to an hour tomorrow, then 2 hours the day after that. If this keeps up, where will it end?" A heavy silence fell over the office workspace. Everyone was stunned by Lin Che's sudden outburst. Lin Che's gaze landed first on Lao Luo, and he strode over to the man. "Lao Luo." Lao Luo stood straight and replied, "Here, Mr. Lin. You've got 2 kids waiting for you at home." Lin Che spoke earnestly. "Tell me this, does cranking out a few extra lines of meaningless code here mean more than tucking your children into bed with a bedtime story?" Lao Luo froze on the spot. Work is never the entirety of life. Family is what truly counts. Every minute you spend working overtime here is time stolen from your loved ones. Lin Che pressed on firmly. You'll miss precious moments of their childhood growing up. No amount of money can ever buy those memories back. Lao Luo fell completely silent, swallowing every retort he had prepared. He thought back to the past 2 weeks. Every time he picked his son up from kindergarten, the little boy would spot him from afar and dash over in pure joy. Such genuine happiness had never been within his reach before, since he could never make it to school dismissal time in the past. Lin Shay then turned towards Su Ming. Su Ming. Su Ming snapped to attention at once. You finally carved out spare time after work to hit the gym, and your physical fitness was just starting to improve. Why throw your health away by staying up late working? Lin Shay pointed sharply at his hairline. Look at your receding hair. Keep burning the midnight oil for another 2 years, and you'll need a hair transplant by age 30. Su Ming instinctively reached up to touch the top of his head. Even though obvious balding hadn't set in yet, the warning sent a chill down his spine. Lin Shay swept his eyes over Zhou Kai, Zhang Wei, and the other young male employees. And the rest of you guys. Do any of you have girlfriends? All of them shook their heads in unison. If you're single, why aren't you rushing out of the office to meet people? Lin Shay threw his hands up, utterly frustrated. Stuck in the office coding day in and day out. Do you think lines of code will date you? Will C++ keep you company at night? Can Python accompany you shopping in malls? Wouldn't being in a warm, sweet relationship be far more fulfilling? You're wasting the best years of your youth cooped up in this office. When you get older, you'll only get picked apart and judged on blind date markets. Zhou Kai swallowed hard and asked, Mr. Lin, is the blind date market really that brutal? Lin Shay let out a cold chuckle and vividly described the harsh realities of modern matchmaking markets. Brutal is an understatement. Most women on these platforms demand male candidates stand taller than 180 centimeters, own a fully paid-off apartment in Donghai City, a car worth no less than 500,000 yuan, separate living arrangements from in-laws, and a betrothal gift starting at 880,000 yuan. Even if you check every single box, they'll still nitpick your hairline and belly fat. He painted the bleak picture in meticulous detail. If you keep pulling all-nighters writing code, you'll end up with a bulging stomach and a bald scalp in a couple of years. You won't even be able to get a spot in the queue on blind date platforms. Zhou Kai and Zhang Wei gasped in shock, dread washing over all the young men. They collectively agreed they would rather stay single for life than endure such harsh screening in matchmaking circles. In the end, Lin Shay glanced sideways at Su Xiaoya, who had huddled in the corner trying to blend into the background. Xiaoya, you're one of the company's founding staff members. Why are you joining everyone in this reckless overtime streak? Su Xiaoya stuck out her tongue and grinned playfully. I just wanted to help the company expand and thrive faster, so you can settle down with a great partner and live your best life. Brother Lin, cut the chatter. Pack up your belongings and leave right this instant. Lin Shay's combination of earnest persuasion and pointed criticism dissolved the solemn, determined atmosphere of working overtime till the end hanging over the office. The employees exchanged uneasy glances before slowly standing up, shutting down their computers, and tidying their desks. While they still felt obligated to contribute more to the company, their boss's words did hold undeniable truth. Lin Shay stood by the office entrance, supervising each staff member clock out and leave. He let out a long breath of relief once the last employee stepped into the elevator, feeling drained as if he had just fought a grueling battle. Leaning against the doorframe, he grumbled inwardly. These handful of troublemakers insisted on causing trouble on the final day of the month. What a handful to manage. If I'd let them work overtime tonight and tank their physical wellness stats, I'd have no one to blame but myself for the loss. Outside the office, the elevator descended smoothly. An awkward, heavy silence hung inside the spacious cabin carrying all 10 employees. Su Ming stared at the glowing red floor numbers above them and broke the silence with a shaky voice. Guys, Mr. Lin treats us incredibly well. He recalled previous employers who only berated him for slow work and labeled him incompetent. In contrast, Lin Shay voluntarily deposited bonuses into his bank account and worried over his hair loss and physical well-being. Tears welled up in Su Ming's eyes as he sniffled to soothe his stinging nasal passages. Lao Luo nodded solemnly beside him, his eyes glistening with emotion. Mr. Lin actually values us as human beings. He sighed with the weariness of years spent in the workforce. Unlike those heartless employers who sweet-talk staff with terms like family, yet overwork their employees to the bone for profit. Su Ming clenched his fist and swore wholeheartedly. From now on, anyone who dares badmouth Mr. Lin in public will have me to answer to. Zhou Kai and the other young men nodded fervently. Absolutely. Mr. Lin is a rare conscientious boss and a beacon for every office worker. He even worries about our romantic prospects. Where could you ever find a leader this caring? I've made up my mind. Starting tomorrow, I'll work on self-improvement to find a partner and live up to Mr. Lin's kindness. Standing in the corner, Su Xiaoya listened to her colleague's heartfelt sentiments and lifted her chin with quiet pride. She had long known Brother Lin possessed a vision and mindset far beyond ordinary corporate managers. Working for such an outstanding leader was a stroke of tremendous good fortune. 11:55 p.m., Lin Che slouched on the worn sofa in his rental unit, his phone resting on his chest and lighting up every few seconds. 11:56 p.m., he opened his system panel for the fifth time that night. Total monthly salary and benefit expenditure, 380,000 yuan. This sum covered full salaries for all 10 employees, maximum social insurance and housing fund contributions, meal subsidies, transportation stipends, housing allowances, plus daily afternoon tea, fruits and snacks for the office. Every cent was genuine investment into his team's welfare. If the team's wellness metrics hit the standard, the full 380,000 yuan would be transferred directly into his personal bank account. 11:57 p.m., this has to go smoothly, Lin Che muttered to himself. Over the entire month, he strictly enforced the 9-to-5 work schedule, maintained daily afternoon tea services, and never permitted any employee to linger past quitting time. A minor hiccup popped up this afternoon, but he had successfully chased off the overtime-obsessed staff in the end. His score was at minimum an 80 out of 100, probably even a solid 90. His team enjoyed a lifestyle more relaxed than retired seniors. Top-tier Alienware computers, Herman Miller office chairs, unlimited snacks and beverages at work. Sharp 5 p.m. dismissals every workday with full weekends off, free time to spend with family, hit the gym, or cook home meals after work. If their physical and mental wellness scores weren't perfect under these conditions, the system was simply cheating him. 11:58 p.m., Lin Che sat upright on the sofa. 11:59 p.m., he gripped his phone tightly, sweat dampening a patch of fabric on his back. 380,000 yuan. Just 1 month prior, he had been a regular corporate employee scraping by on an 8,000 yuan monthly wage. Stuck in a shabby rental apartment, surviving on cheap takeout meals and hesitating to pay extra for a fried egg with his rice bowls. Midnight struck on the dot. A mechanical system voice echoed loudly inside his head. Ding. Monthly settlement initiated. Scanning overall physical and mental wellness ratings for all employees. Lin Che held his breath. This was the moment he'd waited for. Employee 001 Su Xiaoya. Wellness score 100 out of 100, thank goodness. The young anime-loving girl spent most of her free time eating and watching shows. Her wellness was bound to be flawless. Employee 002 Su Ming. Wellness score 100 out of 100, perfect. The man stuck to a regular gym routine lately and stabilized his hairline. A perfect score was well-deserved. Employee 003 Luo Zhengwo. Wellness score 100 out of 100. Unbelievable. Even this hard-working middle-aged man scored full marks. Quality family time clearly boosted his overall well-being. Employee 004 Zhang Wei. Wellness score 100 out of 100. Employee 005 Zhou Kai. Wellness score 100 out of 100. Lin Che's heart pounded harder with every full score notification that popped up on his panel. 5 consecutive perfect ratings. Employee 006 Chao Guangjuan. Wellness score 100 out of 100. Employee 007. 100 out of 100. Employee 008. 100 out of 100. Employee 009. 100 out of 100. Employee 010. 100/100 scanning completed. Average wellness rating across all staff members. 100 points, perfect grade. Lin Che shot abruptly upward from the sofa, slamming his knee hard against the edge of the coffee table. Sharp pain shot through his leg, yet he paid it no mind whatsoever. Full marks across every single employee. Additional system alerts immediately followed. Perfect wellness rating achieved. Total cash rebate rate set to 100. Your total monthly staff expenditure of 380,000 yuan will be fully refunded to your personal bank account. Congratulations on unlocking the perfect wellness rating achievement. You have obtained 3 entries for the lucky draw. Would you like to launch the lucky draw immediately? Draw them right now. All 3 draws. Lin Che's voice cracked, reverberating through the empty rental space. The building had poor sound insulation, but his neighbors were long asleep at this hour. First lucky draw in progress, reward acquired. 10x rebate voucher valid for a single settlement cycle. Lin Che froze completely in place. 10 times the original amount. 380,000 multiplied by 10 equals 3.8 million yuan. His voice warped with pure shock. Second lucky draw in progress, reward acquired. 2x rebate voucher valid for a single settlement cycle, a phenomenal reward for next month's settlement. Lin Che could not wipe the wide grin off his face. Third lucky draw in progress, reward acquired. 100,000 yuan cash direct deposit to your personal bank account, an immediate cash injection of 100,000 yuan. 10x rebate voucher detected in inventory. Would you like to apply the voucher to this current settlement? Apply it, obviously apply it. 10x rebate voucher activated successfully. Total rebate amount for this settlement, 380,000 times 10 is equal to 3,800,000 yuan. Fund transfer to personal account in progress, transfer successful. Lin Shay scrambled across the floor to grab his phone, his fingers trembling so badly he keyed in his bank password incorrectly 3 times in a row. When he finally opened his banking app, his eyes widened at the staggering figure displayed in his account balance. 3,900,000 yuan. 3,900,000 yuan in total, consisting of the 3.8 million tenfold rebate plus the 100,000 yuan cash prize. Lin Shay stared blankly at the number on his screen, pupils blown wide. A mere 30 days ago, he was belittled and reprimanded by Zhao Jinlong as a disposable cog at Haijiao Interactive. He lived paycheck to paycheck on 8,000 yuan monthly wages in a cramped rental unit, budgeting strictly for every cheap takeout meal. In just 1 month, nearly 4 million yuan had landed in his bank account. Lin Shay paced back and forth 5 full laps inside his cramped rental space before he managed to calm his racing heartbeat. He sank back onto the sofa, gazing up at the ceiling and murmuring quietly, "What should I prioritize first? Buying a property could wait for now." Even with his current funds, premium real estate in Donghai City was far out of reach for a luxury home. A new car, though, that purchase was well within his means. As Lin Shay mulled over vehicle options, he swiped aimlessly through his contact list on his phone and paused when he saw the contact labeled Mom. Images of the weathered old family home back in his hometown flashed across his mind. His parents refused to turn on the air conditioning even in 30-plus degree summer heat to cut electricity costs. He hesitated briefly before opening the money transfer page and initially typed in a transfer amount of 500,000 yuan. He quickly deleted the number. Such a large sudden sum would alarm his parents endlessly and trigger a flood of suspicious questions. He revised the amount down to 100,000 yuan instead. He typed a message to send alongside the transfer. "Got a big project bonus recently. Use this money to improve your daily lives with Dad. Don't keep pinching pennies unnecessarily." He sent the message without revealing his new company, knowing his mother would rush over on the earliest train the second she learned he owned a business. He needed to let his family gradually grow accustomed to his improved financial standing step by step. After sending the transfer, Lin Shay tossed his phone onto the sofa and stretched out fully across the cushions. Tomorrow would be the day he bought his first car. 8 a.m. the next morning, Lin Shay's phone buzzed relentlessly with an incoming call from his mother, the device vibrating violently atop his nightstand. Lin Shay fumbled for the phone half asleep and swiped to answer. "Shay, what is this sudden large transfer about?" His mother's sharp voice blared loudly through the speaker, making Lin Shay's head throb. "Where did you get this much money? Tell me the truth. Are you tangled up in some illegal activity out there?" Lin Shay held the phone a small distance away from his ear and cleared his throat. "It's a legitimate project bonus from work." "What kind of project pays out 100,000 yuan all at once? Don't try lying to me." "Mom, it's honest income from my formal job. Our firm landed a major client contract, and the company awarded performance bonuses to the team. Keep this money for your future wedding and home purchases. Your father and I don't need it. I'll send the entire sum back to you tomorrow. Just spend the money comfortably for now. I'll be genuinely upset if you send it back." "You really are a stubborn child." Lin Shay heaved a sigh once the call ended. As predicted, minor sums already sparked heavy suspicion from his parents. They would most likely contact law enforcement if they learned he held nearly 4 million yuan in his bank account. Lin Shay climbed out of bed, finished his morning wash-up, and fixed his reflection in the mirror while adjusting his casual sportswear costing less than 500 yuan in total. Today was non-negotiable for purchasing a car. Walking around with millions in savings while hailing taxis everywhere was a disgrace for a system host. Lin Shay hailed a taxi downstairs and headed straight for the official Porsche dealership in Donghai City. This would be his very first personal vehicle, and he refused to settle for anything subpar. 30 minutes later, the taxi pulled up smoothly at Donghai City's most upscale automotive commercial district. A sleek modern building wrapped in glass curtain walls stood before him, the iconic Porsche Shield logo glinting brightly under sunlight. Lin Shay paid the taxi fare and strode into the showroom, greeted by a rush of cool air conditioning. Polished sports cars and SUVs lined the bright, spacious showroom floor. His gaze swept past the Cayenne and 911 models before locking onto a white coupe displayed prominently in the center of the space, a Porsche Panamera GTS. Its streamlined body design, signature quad exhaust pipes, wide carbon fiber rear wing, and low, aggressive stance embodied the perfect image of a refined yet high-performance luxury vehicle. Lin Shay circled the car slowly, inspecting every detail. A dealership sales consultant named Zhang Bin walked over to greet him. Zhang Bin had only worked at the dealership for half a year. He scanned Lin Shei's plain casual outfit and privately assumed the young man could never afford a Porsche, yet maintained professional customer service etiquette regardless. "Good morning, sir. Are you browsing our vehicles today? This unit is a brand new Panamera GTS fresh to our inventory, fitted with a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 engine." Lin Shei paid no attention to the technical specifications. He simply pulled open the driver's door and settled into the driver's seat. Deep burgundy genuine leather upholstery, carbon fiber sports steering wheel, and snug supportive seats delivered an immediate sense of premium quality. This was the tangible comfort wealth afforded. Lin Shei nodded in satisfaction, climbed back out of the vehicle, and faced the sales consultant. "Fetch the sales contract for this car." Zhang Bin froze on the spot, certain he had misheard the customer. "Sir, pardon me, what did you say?" Lin Shei raised an eyebrow and repeated firmly, "I said get the contract ready. I'm purchasing this Panamera today." Zhang Bin's eyes widened in shock, and he swallowed nervously. "Sir, this is the top-tier GTS variant with a full suite of sport packages and a Burmester sound system. The total on-road price after all factory options exceeds 2 million yuan. He deliberately emphasized the high price tag, having encountered countless young visitors who only posed with luxury cars for social media photos without any real purchasing intent. He assumed Lin Shei fell into that same group. Growing impatient with the back and forth, Lin Shei pulled his bank card from his pocket and slammed it down on the signing desk beside the display vehicle, uttering two concise words. "Full payment. Swipe the card." Zhang Bin's breath caught in his throat as he stared blankly at the ordinary debit card resting on the table. He had never witnessed such a transaction in 6 months working at Porsche. No test drive, no spec review, no price negotiation, not even a question about complimentary window film or floor mats. The customer intended to pay 2 million yuan for a luxury coupe within 5 minutes of walking through the door, as casually as buying groceries. Lin Shei tapped the desk when Zhang lingered in stunned silence. "Is this vehicle unavailable for sale? Is it reserved for another customer?" Zhang Bin snapped back to reality with a jolt and bowed sharply at the waist. "Of course we can sell it to you immediately." He sprinted toward the front desk to retrieve a mobile POS terminal, his hands trembling as he took the bank card from Lin Shei, inserted the card, and entered the total payment amount. Lin Shei input his payment password without hesitation. A crisp beep echoed as the POS machine printed a lengthy transaction receipt confirming successful payment. Staring at the large figure printed on the receipt, Zhang Bin's heart raced wildly. This customer's bank account held sufficient funds with no transaction limits whatsoever. He had landed an extremely high-value client. Zhang Bin's entire demeanor shifted 180 degrees, bowing deeply toward Lin Shei. "Mr. Lin, please take a seat in our customer lounge for complimentary coffee. I will prepare your purchase contract, temporary license plate, and vehicle insurance paperwork immediately. You will be able to drive this vehicle out of our dealership today without delay." Lin Shei nodded indifferently and followed a hostess into the premium customer lounge. He sank into a soft leather sofa and sipped a freshly brewed cup of coffee served to him. Spending over 2 million yuan without a second thought unlocked a distinct joy of financial freedom. Pure bliss summed up the feeling perfectly. Lin Shei leaned comfortably against the sofa back and planned his afternoon schedule, treating himself to a meal at a high-end restaurant to reward himself for all his hard work over the past weeks. Just then, a familiar, arrogant voice sounded from behind him. "Well, look who it is, Lin Shei." Lin Shei twisted around to see a sharply dressed young man with slicked back hair walking toward him, wearing a shiny Rolex Submariner watch on his wrist. This was Wang Chao, Lin Shei's former university classmate. Wang Chao had flaunted his family's moderate wealth throughout their college years and relentlessly pursued their class beauty, only to be flatly rejected when the young woman entered a romantic relationship with Lin Shei instead. Public humiliation fueled Wang Chao's long-standing grudge against Lin Shei, leading to constant snide remarks and targeted hostility ever since. Wang Chao walked arm in arm with a stylish social media influencer named Lily, who wore an elegant red off-the-shoulder midi dress, tailored black hosiery, and sleek red-soled high heels with polished makeup and refined styling. She leaned closely against Wang Chao as they walked forward. Wang Chao looked Lin Shei up and down, sneering at his worn casual attire. "What a sad state you've fallen into. Did you come to the Porsche dealership applying for a sales associate position?" Lily giggled loudly and pressed herself closer to Wang Chao's side. "Chao, your classmate's outfit is far too casual for this upscale showroom. The HR team here wouldn't even glance at his resume." Her overly sweet tone sounded grating to anyone listening. Wang Chao grew even more smug, stepping forward with an arrogant swagger to stand over Lin Che in a patronizing manner. If you're struggling to make ends meet in Donghai, just say the word to me. My company currently has open security guard positions. As an old college acquaintance, I can put in a good word with HR to get you hired without an interview and spare you the struggle of job hunting. Lin Che remained completely unfazed by such petty taunts. He picked up the coffee on the table and took a leisurely sip, wearing an indulgent smile reserved for someone lacking common sense. Forget about working as a security guard. Judging by that designer suit you're wearing, young Master Wang, are you here to buy a car today? Wang Chao tilted his chin upward even higher. Naturally, I run a food supply chain business, so I deal with high-value clients every single day. How am I supposed to earn their trust in my capabilities if I don't drive a decent vehicle to client meetings? Wang Chao launched into a long-winded brag about his impressive career milestones, an annual salary of $500,000 an extensive network of influential contacts, and his recent promotion to department supervisor. Lily chimed in enthusiastically beside him, letting out exaggerated gasps of admiration nonstop. You're so amazing, Brother Chao. Floaty from Lily's flattery, Wang Chao turned to subject Lin Che to condescending workplace remarks. Actually, being a car salesman isn't half bad for you. Every customer who walks in here is wealthy and powerful. If you're quick-witted enough to curry favor with these big shots, opening car doors and pouring drinks for them, the scraps they toss your way would earn you far more money than grinding away at a regular dead-end job. Am I right about that? Every word was meant to drag Lin Che through the mud. Lin Che stifled a laugh and nodded in exaggerated compliance. You're absolutely correct, Supervisor Wang. I'll take your words to heart. I suppose Supervisor Wang is planning to pay cash for $1,000,000 luxury car today? Show us what you've got. Wang Chao raised his hand grandly, ready to boast some more, when hurried footsteps echoed from the lounge entrance. Salesman Zhang Bin sprinted over out of breath, clutching an exquisitely crafted black leather document case. He paid no attention whatsoever to Wang Chao in his branded attire and walked straight up to Lin Che, executing a crisp 90-degree bow. His voice boomed loud enough to fill the entire lounge. Mr. Lin, we apologize for the wait. All full payment paperwork for your Panamera GTS has been finalized. Insurance and temporary license plates take effect immediately. Your vehicle has been fully detailed and is waiting for you at the showroom floor. A heavy silence blanketed the area in an instant. The smile froze rigidly on Wang Chao's face, his mouth hanging open without a single sound coming out. Lily's false lash-adorned eyes widened in pure shock, completely dumbfounded. Paid in full. A Panamera GTS? This luxury vehicle cost well over 2,000,000 yuan after taxes and fees. Wang Chao swallowed hard and forced an ugly, strained grin onto his face. Buddy, you must have mistaken him for someone else. Look at how he's dressed. There's no way he can afford a Panamera. Zhang Bin frowned and shot an irritated glance at Wang Chao. Show some respect. Mr. Lin just swiped his card for a full payment of 2.4 million yuan. I still have the transaction receipt right here in my hand. Porsche upholds the strictest service standards, and we never misidentify our valued vehicle owners. The figure of 2.4 million yuan in full payment crashed down hard on Wang Chao. His face flushed bright crimson, and dizziness washed over him in waves. Clinging desperately to the last shred of his dignity, Wang Chao spoke with palpable resentment. Lin Che, did you win the lottery by some dumb stroke of luck? He knew roughly what Lin Che's family financial situation was like. There was no feasible way Lin Che could afford this Porsche. Winning the lottery was the only explanation his mind could conjure up. Lin Che stood up and smoothed the hem of his worn tracksuit. He looked at Wang Chao's contorted expression and shrugged casually. That's none of Supervisor Wang's concern. Take your time picking out your vehicle. I'm off to inspect my car now. Lin Che followed Zhang Bin toward the striking white Panamera sitting prominently in the showroom, leaving Wang Chao with a sleek, departing back view. Lily's gaze lingered greedily on Lin Che's retreating figure, and her opinion of Wang Chao soured visibly right then and there. Wang Chao's teeth ground together with burning jealousy. He refused to be humiliated in front of Lin Che, especially with this newly acquainted internet celebrity girl beside him. Wang Chao whirled around and roared. Where's a sales associate? Come give me a vehicle consultation right now. A female sales representative hurried over at once. Wang Chao suppressed his boiling frustration and dragged Lily around the showroom for a long stretch. Then he pointed firmly at a Porsche Macan parked near the showroom perimeter. Run me the total out the door price on this one. The saleswoman recited the figures smoothly. You have excellent taste, sir. With standard optional add-ons included, This Mekong will cost roughly 700,000 yuan in total. Would you prefer financing or an upfront full payment, sir? Wang Chao felt the empty weight of his bank card in his pocket and cleared his throat awkwardly. Well, I'll do fi. He never finished the word financing. Lin Shay had wandered over silently at some point, twirling the Panamera's car key between his fingers. He then raised his voice in feigned surprise, loud enough for every patron browsing cars nearby to hear clearly. Oh my goodness, Miss Sales Rep. How could you ask our wealthy young Master Wang whether he's financing or paying cash? That's downright disrespectful to him. Lin Shay stepped up beside Wang Chao and clapped him firmly on the shoulder with overly enthusiastic warmth. The impact made Wang Chao's knees buckle slightly. Lin Shay delivered his backhanded compliments with effortless naturalness. Our supervisor Wang runs a prosperous food supply firm with countless high-net-worth client connections. Building a reputable public image is critical for his business negotiations. Why would he ever need a loan for a modest 700,000 yuan entry-level Porsche meant solely for daily commuting? Shoppers throughout the showroom paused their browsing to stare their way, while multiple sales staff huddled together whispering amongst themselves. Trapped on the spot by this malicious praise, Wang Chao's face turned an ugly shade of purple, cold sweat dripping down his temples as he struggled to form a single coherent sentence. Lily had no idea about Wang Chao's actual financial limits. She truly believed all the extravagant claims he'd made about his wealth. She wrapped both arms tightly around his arm and pressed herself close to his side. Brother Chao, that guy was being so arrogant just now. Let's pay cash for this car right away. 700,000 yuan is nothing but pocket change for you anyway. Pull out your card and pay them to shut everyone's judgmental stares down. Wang Chao's head swam with sheer panic. Pay cash? Not a chance in hell. He couldn't scrape together 700,000 yuan even if he sold every single possession he owned. Lin Shay folded his arms across his chest and delivered the final blow. Surely you aren't actually hesitating over financing a simple 700,000 yuan daily driver, Supervisor Wang. If word of this got back to your business partners, they'd start questioning your company's overall financial stability. Wang Chao clenched his jaw and balled his hands into tight fists, wishing he could vanish into a crack in the floorboards right then and there. He had become the laughingstock of the entire showroom, every onlooker watching him with undisguised disdain and mockery. Watching Wang Chao spiral into total embarrassment, Lin Shay felt a surge of satisfaction wash over him. For people of his caliber, retaliating against humiliation without delay was the sweetest victory possible. With his goal accomplished, Lin Shay paid Wang Chao no further mind. He twirled his Panamera key and strolled confidently toward the showroom entrance. He pulled open the driver's door and settled into the cockpit. Upon ignition, the 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 engine let out a fierce, resonant roar that echoed loudly outside the building. Lin Shay pressed hard on the gas pedal. Amid respectful bows from the entire sales team, he peeled out of the lot behind the wheel of his white Panamera GTS. The white Panamera GTS merged into city traffic, the low rumble of its V8 engine humming steadily beside Lin Shay's ears. He depressed the accelerator sharply, the powerful G-force shoving his body firmly against the sport seats. It felt incredible, truly unbelievably incredible. Exactly 1 month prior, he had been packed into rush-hour subway crowds, jostled around by strangers with barely enough room to breathe. Now here he was, cruising down East City's Riverside Drive behind the wheel of a 2 million yuan Porsche Panamera GTS. His left wrist rested casually atop the carbon fiber sports steering wheel, while his right hand adjusted the volume on the Burmester sound system. Riverfront scenery blurred past the windows, the engine's aggressive exhaust note syncing perfectly with the beat playing through the vehicle speakers. The smooth texture of the burgundy leather seats was incredibly pleasant against his skin. So this was what life was like for the wealthy. A wide grin spread across Lin Shay's face. His gaze drifted to the rearview mirror, catching sight of his pilled, well-worn tracksuit. I'll need to shop for a few nicer outfits soon. But purchasing new clothes wasn't his top priority at this moment. He needed to find a new place to live. Lin Shay cringed thinking about his current rental apartment. The living conditions left much to be desired. The young newlywed couple next door made constant loud noise late at night, and the thin walls carried every sound straight into his unit, shaking his bed constantly. To make matters worse, the water heater broke down every few days, and the weak water pressure made even basic hair washing a frustrating chore. A new residence was non-negotiable. He still held roughly 1.5 million yuan remaining in his bank account, nowhere near enough to purchase a home outright. Lin Shay pulled the car over to the curb and opened a real estate app to check property prices in East City's prime central districts. The listed figures nearly made him drop his phone in shock. Premium Riverview luxury residences in the core area range from 80,000 to 150,000 yuan per square meter. A decent-sized property would cost a minimum of 10 million yuan. No way in hell I can afford that. Lin Che closed the real estate app with a sigh. 10 million yuan was nearly 10 times the cash he had on hand right now. Still, with his system backing him up, building up substantial wealth was only a matter of time. He would rent a high-end luxury apartment as a temporary living space and purchase a permanent home once his system cashback rewards accumulated further. Lin Che opened a premium rental platform and ticked every top-tier filter option available. Central downtown location, riverfront views, large open-concept high-floor suite, fully furnished with move-in ready amenities. After scrolling for several minutes, one residential complex name kept popping up repeatedly, Shuyuan Estate. Shuyuan stood among East City's most exclusive luxury residential compounds, home primarily to enterprise executives and elite finance industry professionals. Lin Che dialed the property manager number listed on the rental page. A polished, pleasant female voice answered on the other end of the line. Hello, this is Han Shui, property manager for Shuyuan Estate. How may I assist you today? Do you have any vacant large high-floor suites available for rent? I require a unit with direct river views. We do have a 200 square meter front row river view penthouse suite currently available for lease. Would you be able to come view the property in person soon? I can head over right this minute. After hanging up the call, Lin Che hit the gas, the Panamaris engine letting out a soft snarl as he sped towards Shuyuan Estate. 15 minutes later, Lin Che parked his vehicle in Shuyuan's underground parking garage and took the elevator up to the property management center within the sales office. As the elevator doors slid open, a woman dressed in a deep navy tailored business dress stepped forward to greet him. Mr. Lin? I'm Han Shui. Lin Che nodded and took a moment to observe her appearance. Han Shui was roughly 27 to 28 years old, her hair neatly pulled back into a tight bun that exposed her slender, fair neck. Her business dress was expertly tailored, cinched tightly at the waist to highlight a sleek body silhouette. She wore sheer black hosiery paired with slim stiletto heels, producing crisp clicking sounds against the polished marble flooring with each step she took. She carried an air of sharp professionalism and refined elegance unique to mature women. Han Shui gave Lin Che a quick once-over. Faded tracksuit, casual sneakers, messy, unkempt hair. Frankly speaking, his appearance clashed drastically with Shuyuan's typical resident demographic. But with 5 years of experience working in high-end property management, Han Shui had encountered all kinds of wealthy individuals. True affluent people rarely cared about their outward attire. Furthermore, the natural ease Lin Che exuded was impossible to fake through deliberate posturing. Right this way, Mr. Lin. I'll escort you up to view the unit. Han Shui stepped aside to gesture him forward, her heels tapping out a steady rhythm across the marble floor as they walked. The pair boarded an elevator bound for the 32nd floor. The instant the elevator doors opened, Lin Che's eyes lit up with delight. Motion-sensing warm lighting flickered on automatically within the entryway, casting a soft glow over the pale cream marble flooring. This is our highest quality available rental unit within the complex, Han Shui said as she pushed open the double doors leading into the master bedroom suite. 200 square meters total, cross-ventilated floor plan with floor-to-ceiling windows on 2 sides of the home. Lin Che followed her inside into an enormously spacious living room with breathtaking panoramic sightlines. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls stretched from ceiling to floor on 2 sides of the room, laying the entire East River waterfront landscape out fully before his eyes. The distant city skyline glowed with a faint golden hue beneath the midday sunlight. All furniture throughout the unit is imported directly from Italy. The mattresses are King Coil brand, and the sofas are crafted by Poltrona Frau. Han Shui tapped a command on the smart home control panel. The motorized curtains slid closed gently, and the indoor lighting dimmed synchronously. The entire residence is outfitted with voice-controlled smart home systems, and wall insulation meets the soundproofing standards of 5-star hotel establishments. Top-tier sound insulation. This was the most crucial selling point for Lin Che. He nodded in clear satisfaction. What is the monthly rental rate? 50,000 yuan per month, with a minimum lease term of 3 months. Han Shui smiled as she quoted the price, carefully gauging Lin Che's reaction. A 50,000 yuan monthly rent was astronomically expensive for ordinary citizens, and most prospective tenants would back down immediately upon hearing the cost. Lin Che did not so much as furrow his brow. I'll sign a 1-year lease. Han Shui froze for a split second before breaking into a warmer, brighter smile. Very well, Mr. Lin. I will prepare the rental contract right away. 20 minutes passed before the contract was fully signed and sealed. Lin Che swiped his bank card to pay the full year's rent plus a 2-month security deposit, totaling 700,000 yuan in one transaction. His account balance dropped sharply from 1.5 million yuan down to 800,000 yuan. The expense stung a little, but he knew the system would issue another round of cashback rewards when the monthly settlement rolled around. Coupled with the double cashback coupons still in his possession, this expenditure would be recouped before long. Here are your residential access cards and underground garage entry passes, Mr. Lin. Han Shui handed over an elegant leather card holder with both hands. Her fingertips brushed lightly against the back of Lin Che's hand in the process. You may move in at any time you wish. Please contact me directly for any requests or issues. I am available 24 hours a day. She pulled a gilded business card printed with her name and personal phone number from her pocket and offered it to him. Lin Che stowed the card safely and nodded. Got it. I'll move my belongings over tonight. With housing arrangements settled, Lin Che checked the time. It was nearly 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He needed to head back to his company office. His team members might be slacking off or encountering work issues without his supervision, so he needed to return and oversee operations personally. Lin Che drove his eye-catching white Panamera GTS back to Century Tower and parked in the building's underground garage before heading toward the lobby via elevator. The moment he stepped out of the elevator car, he crossed paths with his employees returning to the office after their lunch break. Su Xiaoya held a milk teacup to her mouth, sucking on the straw leisurely. Lao Luo and Su Ming were engaged in a tense discussion regarding new project planning details. Brother Lin. Su Xiaoya spotted Lin Che the second. He exited the elevator and waved her half-finished milk teacup in greeting. Lin Che walked over to the group. Just finished lunch? Yep, Boss Lin. The Japanese restaurant downstairs had really good food, Lao Luo replied with a grin. We went to grab a bite together just now. Su Xiaoya's gaze locked onto the car key dangling between Lin Che's fingers. The refined shield-shaped emblem on the key fob was instantly recognizable. Wow, Brother Lin. Did you buy a new car? Su Xiaoya exclaimed loudly, pointing toward the key. Is that a Porsche? The mention of the Porsche brand snapped Su Ming's head around instantly. Few men could remain indifferent to high-performance sports cars. It's parked down in the underground garage. Lin Che shook the key casually. Picked it up earlier today. Holy wow, I need to see it. Su Xiaoya latched onto the sleeve of Lin Che's tracksuit immediately. Take us down to have a look, Brother Lin. I've never even gotten close to touching a Porsche in my whole life. Both Lao Luo and Su Ming wore eager, expectant expressions as well. Lin Che let out a helpless chuckle. Fine then, it's just downstairs. The group headed back down to the underground parking level together. When they rounded the corner and laid eyes on the white Panamera GTS parked in its designated premium spot, every single person fell silent. The vehicle boasted flawlessly smooth body lines, quad exhaust pipes glinting with metallic sheen under the garage lighting, and a carbon fiber rear spoiler that elevated the car's premium aesthetic. My God, this car is absolutely stunning. Su Xiaoya circled the vehicle repeatedly, hesitating to reach out and touch the paintwork for fear of damaging it. Brother Lin, how much did this car cost you? Roughly over 2 million yuan after all fees and taxes, Lin Che answered nonchalantly, as if he were talking about purchasing a 200 yuan toy. Over 2 million yuan. Shock washed over Su Xiaoya. She had always suspected Lin Che came from a wealthy family, but seeing him in actual ownership of such an expensive luxury car delivered an overwhelming impact. Su Ming stood rooted to the spot, unable to tear his eyes away from the oversized sport wheels and bright red brake calipers. A Panamera GTS 4.0-liter V8 engine, the quintessential understated high-performance luxury sedan. This exact vehicle configuration has been my dream car for years. His voice trembled slightly with awe. Lin Che watched Su Ming's starstruck reaction and smiled, tossing the car key over toward him. Su Ming fumbled frantically to catch the key, terrified of dropping the expensive fob onto the concrete garage floor. Boss Lin, what are you doing? Want to take it for a quick spin to test out the handling? Lin Che stuffed both hands into the pockets of his tracksuit. The tank is completely full of fuel since I just drove it off the dealership lot. No way, Boss Lin, I couldn't possibly do that. Su Ming hastily pressed the key back into Lin Che's palm. This is a brand new 2 million yuan vehicle. If I so much as scrape the paintwork, I'd never earn enough money in my lifetime to cover the repair costs. Lao Luo sighed in agreement beside them. Luxury cars are beautiful to admire from afar, but us ordinary working folks can only look on wistfully. Even a single-wheel rim from this car would cost more than most people earn in years of hard labor. Lin Che frowned upon hearing those words. If his employees could not afford such luxuries, how would he gather enough stimulus points to raise their wellness metrics and level up his company system? He had to lift his employees' spirits. Look at how unambitious you all are. Lin Che wore a stern expression. It's nothing more than a means of transportation. If you work hard at Star Han Technology and stick with me, I guarantee every single one of you will drive cars just as good as this in the future. Lin Che spoke with complete sincerity. He genuinely hoped these people could raise the company's rank as soon as possible. A higher rank would not only double the upper limit of corporate benefits, but also bring him bigger cash rebates. A Porsche worth several million yuan would be trivial for them down the line. However, Su Xiaoya, Su Ming, and Old Luo heard his words in an entirely different light. They had worked for other corporations before. Executives at those big tech firms always spouted similar lines. Promises like, hit this year's performance targets, and I'll get everyone new cars next year. In the end, the bosses would splurge on fancy sports cars for themselves, while the staff even had their overtime pay docked. Empty promises were standard practice for most companies. But right now, Lin Che stood there calmly holding the car keys. Coupled with the full salaries credited to their bank accounts that morning, no deductions whatsoever. He had even paid full wages to employees who had only worked half a month and flew into a temper whenever they tried to work overtime. Would someone like this lie to them with empty words? Absolutely not. Mr. Lin. Su Ming clenched his fists, overcome with excitement. He chose to trust Lin Che. Old Luo stood rooted to the spot, a surge of warmth flooding his chest. Having spent years in the gaming industry, he had seen countless greedy bosses who splashed out on luxury sports cars while overworking their staff to the bone. Lin Che was nothing like them. He had bought the expensive sports car with his own money, and his first thought after the purchase was to lead his employees to earn better lives together. What remarkable foresight and generosity. Old Luo suddenly knew he had made the right choice joining this company. I'll make this new project a smash hit for Mr. Lin. Su Ming roared inwardly. He glanced over at Old Luo, and the two locked eyes, each seeing firm resolve in the other's gaze. They had to deliver outstanding results. Lin Che watched his staff and noticed their flushed faces, along with noticeably brighter energy levels compared to a moment earlier. What's going on? A bad premonition washed over him. Were these people conjuring up some wild assumptions again? Sir Lin, Su Ming spoke up loudly. I've come up with a brilliant gameplay design for the game's tutorial segment. I need to revise the details right away, so I'm heading back to my workstation. Old Luo nodded in agreement. You're right. The underlying code framework can still be streamlined. I'll get on that immediately. Me too. Let's head back to our desks. The group hurried toward the elevator at top speed. Lin Che stood alone in the empty underground parking lot, car key suspended mid-air, completely dumbfounded. Back in his spacious, bright executive office, Lin Che sank comfortably into his leather boss chair and let out a long sigh of relief. The fanatical glint in his employees' eyes still gave him jitters. Would these people really push themselves to work overtime secretly just for a Porsche? He needed a solution fast. Lin Che hastily pulled up his system interface. His top priority was upgrading the company to Level 2 without delay. Level 2 would raise the employee cap to 50 people, boost the maximum welfare payout rate to 180, and most importantly, unlock full cash rebates on all corporate equipment purchases. He would then be able to claim rebates legitimately through company procurement spending. Company rank. Level 1 Startup Phase Upgrade Requirement 1. Accumulated total rebates must reach 1 million yuan. Current progress. 380,000/1 million Upgrade Requirement 2. Overall physical and mental health score of all staff above 80 points. Requirement completed. Current rebate quota. Unfulfilled. Lin Che frowned at the 380,000 out of a million figure. He was still short by 620,000 yuan. If he kept his current monthly payroll and welfare spending of 380,000 yuan, he would have to wait 2 whole months to meet the upgrade threshold. But after tasting the benefits of tenfold cash rebates, waiting felt agonizing. Every passing day was torture. I need to spend these remaining 620,000 yuan on staff-related expenses legally within this month. Lin Che propped his feet up on his desk, his mind racing for solutions. How could he spend the money? The system banned direct cash handouts to employees. Lump sum bonuses of 60,000 yuan per person would count as non-compliant expenditure. All payroll and welfare spending had to follow standard legitimate business practices. Base salaries were already capped at 150 of market rates with no room for increases. Social insurance and housing fund contributions were set at the highest legal brackets as well. Expenses for afternoon tea and office snacks were negligible, adding at most a few tens of thousands to monthly costs. Recruit more staff? Impossible. Level 1 companies were capped at 10 employees, and his team was already at full capacity. He had to find valid ways to spend money on his existing 10 team members. After mulling it over, Lin Che decided to sound out his employees first. Xiaoya, come into my office. Su Xiaoya trotted in, holding a half-eaten matcha cake in her hand. You called for me, Brother Lin. Leaning back against his chair, Lin Che asked casually, how's everyone holding up with work lately? Any personal needs or troubles in daily life? Su Xiaoya tilted her head and thought for a moment before shaking her head. Everything's perfect. The team gets amazing pay, great meals, plenty of rest, and we all get off work at 5 sharp to watch our favorite shows. Her tone grew fervent as she continued. Everyone's pouring all their energy into brainstorming the new game. Zhang Wei showed me his draft proposal yesterday with incredibly coherent logic. Old Luo has already finished most of the foundational framework coding. They're trying to squeeze twice as much work out of every single day. Lin Che's hand froze mid-sip of his coffee. Obsessive brainstorming? Stretching each day to double its length? He nodded with a calm smile on the surface, while alarm bells blared loudly inside his head. Intense mental labor counted as physical exertion too. Prolonged high-intensity thinking caused mental strain, nervous exhaustion, and poor sleep quality. The system's health assessment relied purely on objective physical data, regardless of how happy the employees claimed to be. They had stopped working overtime physically and started burning themselves out mentally instead. This new form of self-imposed workload was far harder to manage. He could shut off the office power to stop physical overtime, but there was no way to stop people from overthinking game mechanics. Lin Che set his coffee mug down heavily with a dull thud against the desktop. He had to give them alternate activities to distract their minds and let their brains fully unwind from work matters. Lin Che swiveled back and forth in his office chair before straightening up abruptly. Xiaoya. Yes. Notify the entire company that we're going on a company outing next week. Su Xiaoya's eyes lit up instantly. A team outing? Where are we going? Barbecue or mountain hiking? My old employer made US hike for 5 hours once. My legs were shaking nonstop on the way down. Lin Che rolled his eyes. Barbecues and hiking trips cost practically nothing. At most a few thousand yuan, barely a drop in the bucket. He needed a channel to burn through the full 620,000 yuan deficit, not cheap outdoor barbecues with his staff. Hiking is pointless and exhausting. Lin Che laced his fingers behind his head and leaned back comfortably. If we're going on an outing, we're picking the finest possible destination. We depart next Monday. Charter a private flight to Hainan, book standalone ocean view villas, and rent a luxury yacht for offshore cruises. A 3-day, 2-night trip with all meals, entertainment, and amenities fully covered by the company. Su Xiaoya nearly spat out her matcha cake in shock. Lin Che quickly ran the numbers through his mind. First-class airfare, private seaside villas, luxury yachts, Michelin private chefs, premium spa treatments. Spending 20 to 30,000 yuan per person was entirely reasonable. 10 staff members would amount to 2 to 300,000 yuan in total costs. With miscellaneous extra expenses factored in, he could spend the full 600,000 yuan to cover the deficit and upgrade the company to level 2 within the month. Lin Che grew more pleased with his plan by the second. His pleasant daydream only lasted 3 seconds before the cold mechanical system prompt echoed inside his head. Warning: total spending on single team outings cannot exceed 50 of the company's total monthly payroll. Any excess expenditure counts as pure consumption and will not qualify for cash rebates. Lin Che's smile froze completely on his face. 50%? He quickly calculated the figures. Total monthly payroll for his 10 employees was roughly 300,000 yuan, meaning the rebate-eligible portion of this outing was capped at 150,000 yuan. Any money spent beyond that limit would yield 0 rebates whatsoever. Lin Che felt his heart ache at the wasted expenditure. The system restricted his spending methods relentlessly, even imposing strict limits on team outing expenses. Still, Lin Che took a deep breath to calm his frustration. Improving employee health metrics was his core priority. Only perfect health scores would guarantee full monthly rebates and unlock the triple lucky draw reward again next month. After weighing all factors, Lin Che finalized his decision. He would set the total outing budget at 300,000 yuan. The extra 150,000 yuan outside the rebate cap would be written off as pure employee welfare spending. Keeping his staff relaxed and stress-free, free from overwork, was well worth that cost. Xiaoya. I'm here. Su Xiaoya pulled out a small notebook, ready to jot down instructions. Set the total team outing budget at 300,000 yuan. You're in charge of coordinating all travel arrangements. Su Xiaoya's notebook clattered onto the floor. She stood rigidly frozen, mouth hanging wide open. 300,000 yuan. She bent down to pick up her notebook and rubbed her ears hard to make sure she had heard correctly. Brother Lin, did I mishear you? There are only 11 of us, including yourself. That's nearly 30,000 yuan per person for this outing. At her previous company, Cape Interactive, the annual team outing budget was a mere 300 yuan per person. Just enough for a meal at a rural farmhouse restaurant and a night's stay in damp, moldy homestays. 30,000 yuan per person was an unfathomable sum, more than the total annual outing budget of her entire former company combined. Lin Che sipped his coffee with unnerving composure. Money is irrelevant here. What matters is that everyone thoroughly enjoys the trip and achieves complete mental and physical relaxation. Su Xiaoya stared at his unruffled face, her breathing growing rapid as her mind raced to interpret his motives. Why would Brother Lin fund such an extravagant company outing when team morale was already sky high? Su Xiaoya clenched her fists as a realization dawned on her. Lin Che must have noticed the hidden mental pressure beneath their upbeat attitudes. The team had only been employed for less than a month, receiving top-tier salaries without delivering any tangible project results yet. Every single person was weighed down by unspoken pressure to prove their worth. Unrelieved stress would eventually take a toll on their mental well-being. Lin Che was easing their mental burdens with generous benefits right before the official project development phase, letting everyone join the core work with a clear mind and relaxed mood. His forward-thinking leadership and considerate management moved Su Xiaoya to the verge of tears. Brother Lin, leave this to me. I'll plan an unprecedented team outing worthy of your thoughtful intentions. Lin Che could only sigh internally. My only intention is to spend money. Still, he held back any rebuttal upon seeing her newly invigorated resolve. As long as they went on the trip and stopped obsessing over work, he would be satisfied. Go ahead and make the arrangements. Su Xiaoya clutched her notebook and hurried out of the office. Once her footsteps faded down the corridor, Lin Che leaned back against his chair and exhaled deeply. Even with only half the outing cost eligible for rebates, the trip would secure perfect employee health scores. Full monthly rebates plus the lucky draw next month would bring far greater gains overall. Everything is proceeding as planned. Lin Che crossed his legs comfortably and reopened his system panel to map out his rebate strategy for the coming month. When Su Xiaoya returned to her workstation and shared the 30,000 yuan per person team outing plan with the rest of the team, the entire office fell into dead silence. No one reacted with immediate joy or excitement. We're going on a company trip to Hainan. 30,000 yuan per person in budget? Su Ming shot up from his seat in utter disbelief. Xiaoya, this can't be a joke. We've barely started working here, and our project doesn't even have a basic framework yet. We haven't contributed anything to the company. We have no right to spend such a large sum of corporate funds. His words resonated with every other team member present. Old Luo pushed his glasses up his nose with a solemn expression. Mr. Lin already treats us extremely well with industry-leading salaries. We already feel guilty collecting such high pay without delivering work outcomes. Accepting such an extravagant trip would feel like draining resources from the company for no return. Exactly. I already feel guilty clocking out on time every day while earning this high salary. We cannot accept this expense. Absolutely not. Voices rose in unified agreement across the workspace. Their collective stance was clear: reject the generous outing benefits out of a sense of accountability. All of them had escaped exploitative overtime culture at large internet corporations. At those old jobs, corporate benefits were always strictly tied to performance metrics. Miss your KPIs, and you would lose your year-end bonuses alongside any recreational activities. None of them had ever worked for a company that handed out lavish benefits unconditionally like Starhan Technology. The more generously their boss treated them, the heavier their sense of guilt became. They constantly felt they were failing to live up to Lin Che's pay and trust. Su Xiaoya stamped her feet, anxiously watching their guilty, uneasy expressions. You don't understand. This is Brother Lin's well-meaning plan for us to recharge before the heavy project workload kicks in. Her thoughtful interpretation fell flat against the pragmatic technical staff's reasoning. Old Luo stood up naturally as the most senior and experienced member of the group to speak for the team. We need to talk this over with Mr. Lin directly. We cannot let him waste so much money on us. We don't need rest right now. We just want to write code and build game assets non-stop to deliver a finished product and repay Mr. Lin for giving us this career opportunity. Let's go talk to him together. Su Ming rallied the group. Everyone except Su Xiaoya stood up in unison, marching in a dense crowd toward the general manager's office with resolute determination. Su Xiaoya rushed after them hurriedly. Lin Che was resting back in his chair, daydreaming about the perks he would unlock after upgrading his company rank when a knock echoed against his office door. "Come in." The moment the door swung open, Lin Che nearly jolted out of his chair. Old Luo led Su Ming, Zhang Wei, and every other employee, completely blocking the office doorway with solemn, resolute expressions, akin to volunteers marching toward a vital mission. What is this about? Lin Che's heart sank with a terrible sense of foreboding. Old Luo stepped forward with sincere, remorseful eyes and bowed deeply toward Lin Che. "Mr. Lin, we've come to submit a formal request." "A formal request?" Lin Che grew even more confused. Old Luo straightened his posture and spoke firmly. "Xiaya has told us all about the planned team outing. After discussing it as a group, we have reached a unanimous decision to decline this trip." Lin Che's smile vanished from his face entirely. Decline it? He was voluntarily footing an extra 150,000 yuan, just to get them to relax on vacation, and they were refusing the offer? Oblivious to Lin Che's inner frustration, Old Luo poured out his genuine feelings. "We appreciate your kindness deeply, Mr. Lin, but we've only just joined the company, and our project hasn't taken shape at all. Collecting such generous salaries and benefits every day fills us with immense guilt." Su Ming nodded firmly behind him. "All we want to do is stay in the office writing code and building game models as quickly as possible to launch our game and generate revenue for the company. We can take a company trip after we achieve solid results and the company turns consistent profits. We just want to put in extra working hours right now. Please withdraw the team outing arrangement. We voluntarily give up this trip." The rest of the staff echoed loudly with unwavering resolve. Lin Che sat frozen in his executive chair staring at his hyper-motivated employees, begging to work overtime and rejecting his funded vacation. His blood pressure spiked sharply, and he barely held back a surge of exasperation. Corporate profits only granted him a mere 10 personal allocation. His real wealth came from system cash rebates on legitimate corporate spending. If his employees refused to spend company funds and maintain optimal health metrics, how would he ever upgrade his company? How could he unlock additional rebate mechanisms and profit from the system? Lin Che trembled with frustration, staring at his overly devoted employees, and briefly entertaining the urge to dismiss every single one of them. These self-motivated workaholics were actively ruining his wealth-building plan with their loyalty and dedication. Lin Che's mind raced frantically for a solution before his upgrade plan got derailed entirely. Losing his temper would not solve anything. Reasoning with employees who had over-interpreted his motives was futile. He needed to beat their overthinking with their own logic. A sudden idea struck him, and Lin Che slammed his palm hard against the desk. Bang! The loud crash silenced every person in the office instantly. Lin Che slowly rose to his feet with a dark, stern expression, scanning each employee with a tone of deep disappointment and rebuke. "This is reckless behavior. Utterly reckless. Do you honestly believe this team outing is purely for leisure?" The employees exchanged confused glances, stunned by their boss's sudden outburst. Lin Che walked out from behind his desk toward the crowd with overwhelming, authoritative presence. "You could not be more wrong. Let me make this clear. This is not a casual recreational outing. This is a rigorous, immersive field research mission for our upcoming project." Field research mission? The employees were thoroughly confused by the term. How could a tropical island vacation possibly relate to game project research? Lin Che caught their puzzled looks and knew his makeshift explanation was working. He fabricated a detailed justification without the slightest trace of hesitation. "What kind of game are we developing here?" He held up one finger and declared firmly, "We are creating a landmark blockbuster title designed to deliver immersive, satisfying emotional experiences for all players." What is emotional value? It means allowing players to gain relaxation, joy, and a sense of exclusivity within our games that they can never attain in real life. Let me ask you this. How can you design emotionally resonant in-game details if you have never experienced premium tier service or enjoyed top-tier luxury getaways yourselves? Do you truly believe you can create a blockbuster game working behind closed doors with no real-world reference? Lin Shun delivered his speech with impassioned fervor, his words striking a chord with everyone in the room. The staff stared blankly, eyes widening as if a door to an entirely new world was swinging open before them. Seizing the moment, Lin Shun continued his address. "Why did I pick this top-tier private island in the South China Sea as our destination? Precisely so each of you can experience everything firsthand. Bask in the sunshine, walk along the sandy shores, and listen to the ocean waves. Experience the meticulous butler service offered by five-star resorts, and savor exquisite gourmet dishes crafted by Michelin-starred chefs. I want each of you to step into the shoes of high-spending premium players in our games. Draw artistic inspiration and gather design insights throughout this field trip, weaving these authentic, premium sensory experiences into all our future game products. That is the real purpose behind this so-called team-building activity. Now tell me, do you still think this trip is nothing more than a leisure vacation? Silence fell across the office the second he finished speaking. Every single employee was thoroughly awestruck by Lin Chen's forward-thinking reasoning. It all clicked into place for them now. Their boss had poured vast sums of money not for pure leisure, but to fund a paid study tour disguised as a team-building trip. They'd simply been too short-sighted and narrow-minded to see his intentions. Smack! Lao Luo slapped his thigh hard, his face etched with shame and remorse. Director Lin, I understand now. This was my mistake entirely. I've been far too short-sighted to grasp your deeper plan. I offer my sincere apology. Su Ming was so moved his eyes welled up with tears. He looked toward Lin Chun, his voice thick with emotion. Director Lin, you've gone to such great lengths for every single one of us. You framed this educational field trip as a casual team-building excursion just to ease our mental burdens. We will never let you down. Even if this island trip drains us completely, we will accomplish every objective assigned for this research visit flawlessly. We will follow all instructions without question. We will follow all instructions without question. The rest of the staff voiced their agreement one after another, filled with renewed motivation. Already eager to fly to the South China Sea to carry out their research tasks, Lin Shen let out a quiet sigh of relief internally once he successfully convinced his team to buy into his narrative. Mission accomplished. He waved a hand, reverting back to his usual calm, composed demeanor. All right, everyone return to your regular workstations. Xiaoya, stay behind. Draft a detailed travel itinerary for this trip immediately and move quickly. Understood, Director Lin. The employees left the office feeling uplifted and purposeful, each convinced they were shouldering a sacred research mission. Lin Shen slumped back into his executive chair, feeling more worn out than if he'd coded 10,000 lines of programming. Being a considerate boss was far more exhausting than he'd imagined. Su Xiaoyao worked with remarkable efficiency, finalizing the full travel schedule in a single afternoon, and settling on a high-end private resort island in the South China Sea as their destination. Early Monday morning, the rising sun burned away the thin mist hanging over Donghai City. Two sleek black luxury vans pulled up right outside Century, building on schedule. The 10 employees of Star Han Technology boarded the vehicles with their luggage, and the cars sped straight toward the airport. Once they reached the airport terminal, Su Xiaoya headed to the exclusive service counter to collect boarding passes. When she handed each person their ticket, the entire group was stunned by their travel class. F First Class. Su Ming held the boarding slip in both hands, his eyes blown wide open. All of us get first-class tickets. Even Lao Luo, a seasoned veteran with over a decade of workplace experience, gasped in shock. At previous game companies he'd worked for, securing reimbursement for an economy-class flight required tedious multi-level approval from management. Now their director had booked every single first-class seat on the flight for the 11-member group heading to Hainan. Led by warm, welcoming flight attendants, the group passed through the exclusive premium passenger corridor and boarded the spacious, opulent first-class cabin. Fully automated massage leather seats, paired with large personal entertainment screens, left these overworked programmers utterly dumbfounded. It was the first time Lao Luo had ever sat in such roomy, comfortable seating. Unsure what to do with his hands and feet, he carefully brushed his fingers across the leather armrest. Terrified he might damage it and face costly compensation, caught between awkwardness and overwhelming awe, he glanced forward at Lin Chun, who sat relaxed sipping champagne, his admiration for his boss's immense vision and financial capacity deepening further. Lao Luo, we need to take this research seriously to repay Director Lin's kindness, Su Ming whispered quietly, earnestly flipping open a small notebook he'd brought along. Lao Luo nodded vigorously in full agreement. Lin Chen leaned back against the plush seat cushion to rest his eyes, completely unaware his employees were overinterpreting every little detail of their flight experience as vital research material. The plane touched down smoothly at Nanhai City International Airport. The moment they exited the VIP arrival passage, for Mercedes-Benz vans were already parked and waiting for their arrival. Uniformed chauffeurs wearing white gloves opened the car doors respectfully to welcome the Star Han Technology team aboard. The convoy traveled smoothly toward an exclusive cluster of high-end private resort villas, perched on the island's coastline. The ocean views from this location were breathtaking. The entire villa complex was built along scenic cliff sides, with dedicated personal butlers waiting at the entrance to greet the guests. A sprawling infinity pool mirrored the blue sky and white clouds overhead, offering unobstructed panoramic views of the coastline with the rhythmic crash of ocean waves clearly audible in the air. An on-site private culinary team busied themselves in the open kitchen, preparing dishes with rare, premium ingredients. A warm sea breeze washed over the group the second they stepped out of the vehicles. No one could utter a single word, stunned speechless by the sheer luxury spread out before them. Lao Luo pushed up his black-rimmed glasses and clutched his bulky laptop tightly to his chest. He turned to the rest of the group with a solemn expression. Everyone drop off your luggage promptly. We'll gather in the main living room in 10 minutes to hold a meeting and assign specific research tasks for today. Su Ming immediately chimed in with great enthusiasm. Absolutely. The layout and environmental design here hold massive reference value for our projects. I have to sketch detailed topographical drawings right away. Lin Chen froze in place after stepping through the villa doors, ready to unwind and relax. Upon hearing these absurd exchanges, were these people serious? They'd arrived at this idyllic paradise, and before even unpacking their bags, they were already fixated on holding meetings and writing code. Truly hardworking to a fault, incapable of slowing down. Lin Chen hardened his expression and strode to the center of the lobby. Everyone stop what you're doing this instant. Lao Luo whirled around with his laptop pressed against his chest, confused. Director Lin, do you have new work directives for us? Lin Chen pointed sharply at the laptop in Lao Luo's grasp, his tone stern. Lock all laptops, tablets, and every piece of work equipment inside the room safes immediately. The employees exchanged confused glances, filled with puzzlement. But Director Lin, didn't we come here for on-site research and material collection? Su Xiaoya asked cautiously. Lin Chen shot her an exasperated look. Do you need electronic devices to collect reference material? You're all far too strung up to truly feel the genuine sense of calm these premium resorts are meant to provide. He raised his voice to announce strict ground rules for the duration of their stay. I am issuing a formal mandate for every member of this team. Your sole assignment for these 3 days is to feast on fresh seafood, drink champagne, and book top-tier spa treatments. In short, enjoy yourselves to the fullest, until every trace of work stress fades completely from your minds. Anyone caught typing a single line of code or discussing game development work over these 3 days will be asked to submit their resignation upon returning to the office. Our company has no place for staff who refuse to take proper time to recharge and enjoy life. Dead silence blanketed the room once the statement landed. It was almost surreal, yet deeply touching that their company would threaten termination, purely to force employees to rest and enjoy a break. Tears welled up in Lao Luo's eyes instantly as he gripped his laptop tighter, fingers trembling faintly. All talk of research assignments had just been a cover story. His boss had spent hundreds of thousands of real money on this lavish trip. He'd only concocted this elaborate excuse to pull his overworked team away from their desks for a much-needed mental and physical break, to force everyone to let go of work anxiety entirely. He'd even resorted to threatening termination as a gentle deterrent. It was a brand of care that was both tender and uncompromising. This was what a truly conscientious, outstanding entrepreneur looked like. Director Lin. Su Ming sniffled heavily, turning aside to wipe the stinging tears from his eyes. We understand your intentions perfectly now. We appreciate everything you've done for us. We promise to fully immerse ourselves in this vacation and steer clear of all work matters for these 3 days. Lin Chen watched Su Ming drowning in his own sentimental reflections, thoroughly perplexed by the misplaced emotion. What exactly was he understanding so deeply? Still, as long as the team put away their work devices and stopped burning themselves out from overtime work, he could let them interpret his motives however they pleased. Butler, Lin Chen called out. Escort everyone to their individual rooms to change into casual attire. Open our finest bottles of champagne and begin preparations for the pool party at once. Each employee was led away respectfully by their assigned personal butler. As they walked along the quiet villa corridors, the group murmured to one another in heartfelt admiration. Our director is truly incredible. Zhang Wei's voice was full of sincere reverence. He went to such extreme lengths just to make us take a proper break. I'm genuinely moved beyond words. I'm fully dedicated to Star Han technology for as long as I work in this industry. The sunset that evening was breathtakingly beautiful. The vast sea horizon blazed with brilliant crimson and golden hues, the afterglow shimmering brightly across the surface of the infinity pool. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the private culinary team carried an extravagant feast out to the long outdoor dining table. Australian rock lobsters, king crab, A5 Wagyu beef, and premium tuna sashimi filled the table. A lavish spread that amazed everyone and whetted their appetites immensely. A soft sea breeze drifted by, carrying the distinct salty tang of tropical ocean air. The group raised tall flutes filled with expensive champagne, laughing freely alongside one another around the dining table. Su Xiaoya wore a fresh floral-patterned swimsuit as she lay comfortably on a white lounge chair beside the infinity pool. A small side table next to her held a platter of cut tropical fruits and chilled coconut juice. She picked up her phone happily, capturing photos from all sorts of creative angles. She first snapped a close-up shot of the roasted garlic lobster, followed by a group photo of everyone raising their glasses. Aboard the first-class flight, she finished the set with an artistic silhouette of a luxury yacht framed against the sunset glow, assembling a perfect 9-photo social media carousel post. She opened her social media feed and quickly typed out a caption, pairing it with several cute emoticons. Absolute dream working conditions. Fixed 9 to 5 schedule with no overtime. Full monthly pay issued within half a month of onboarding. Plus, this director-mandated wellness getaway costing roughly $30,000 per person. Labeled as a research trip, she tapped the send button, sipping cold coconut juice contentedly after posting the photos. Working alongside director Lin meant living a life better than any fairy tale paradise could offer.